are in Baird Country. Can you just move it up just to crop my gut out a little bit more?
Can I get a booster seat?
Can I get breast reduction? Just kidding. I started hitting the gym in the morning, like working out harder in the morning. Did you?
Yeah.
It feels great, doesn't it?
No.
At the time it doesn't, but then afterwards it feels great.
It feels good in my head for sure.
Right. Same here. But a big kicker was when Hudson's like, Dada boobs, boobs, Dada boobs. I'm like, these are pectoral muscles.
I'm a man.
Yeah.
I got my mom's husband is like 65.
Yeah.
Beat me in a push-up contest, and that's what pushed me to start going to the gym.
Yeah. That'll do it.
That'll do it.
Something like that. Some sort of like, your kid, and the kid's honest.
Yeah.
He's just like, boobies.
Yeah, he's not trying to make fun of you.
No, I'm just like, just like tits gaining on me by the minute. Just down next 2 minutes later, just huffing and puffing on the bike. Like, oh my God. Are we rolling, Tor?
Nice.
Oh man, that's probably not going to make it in.
No, it should. That's a good intro. You got a beep out tits probably, but
tits gaining on me.
That's the name of the episode.
Beginning of the thing. Amazing. Okay. Hello, everybody. Today we have an awesome guest. This is friend and fellow canoeing savant YouTuber, Joe Robinet. Check out his channel, Joe Robinet on YouTube. He is a survival bushcraft guy, but more so just a backcountry camper, paddler, fisherman. He's built some amazing shelters, and he's an OG when it comes to the outdoor YouTube world. So, Joe, it's good to have you on the show, man.
Thanks, man. What an intro. That was great. Thank you.
Was it good?
That was
Yeah.
very good.
I thought that went fairly smoothly.
I liked it.
No stuttering. And So, Joe, so you're on a recent trip. You're deep in Algonquin Park.
Right.
And all of a sudden you start to get these crazy looking, grotesque rashes and swelling all over your face.
Yeah.
And you're far from a road. What happened there?
Man, I almost lost my sight and everything. My brother passed away, unfortunately, my little brother, and I went down to Windsor to deal with the funeral week, I'll call it. And halfway through the week, I started getting a migraine, and I never, ever, ever in my life have had a migraine. And it was on this side of my head from here back, and it just lasted forever. And go back home, and I'm just trying to get my head right. I don't know how to deal with it about my brother. So I'm like, I'm going to go for a big, long slog in Algonquin because like I know I can pick a big road. I'm going to go by myself, and I'm going to just put some miles under my feet and try and work through this. And I actually went to the doctor beforehand because I had a couple little rash things on my head. But they're like, oh, it's hot. You've been sweating, whatever. I'm like, I'm going camping then, because I wasn't going to go if something was wrong. I'm going camping then. So I go and I'm out for like 4 days, 3-4 days at this point. And I'm getting hammered by black flies. By black flies and mosquitoes. Like, it's real bad.
They were bad.
They were
man.
thick, dude. I was in Maple Creek.
I saw the video, man.
Like a carpet. Like you could touch. Yeah. But it just keeps getting worse. And then my eye was really the kicker. Like my eye started to swell up like real bad and close. And like it would start to like almost like leak and stuff. It was gross, man. And I'm like, something's wrong. I knew something was wrong. So I decided to bail, and it took me a couple days to get out, I believe, maybe a day. I can't really remember. But I got out, and I live about 6 hours away from there. So I drove about 4 hours to a hospital towards.
So you got out of the bush immediately, go to a hospital?
Yeah, didn't go home. Went to a hospital.
Wow, yeah.
I knew it was bad. Yeah. And I went in, and they looked at me, and they go, "You have shingles." And I'm like, "What?" The thought didn't even cross my mind. I had no clue what it was.
But there was so much swelling. It wasn't just the rash. It was just swollen. Which is crazy.
So I had, and then the rash kept getting worse, but the swelling was like the issue, right? Because like they said, you're supposed to catch it in 72 hours or else you could have potential nerve damage depending on where you have it on your body. And they looked at me, it was like some Q4 quadrant. I can't remember the name of it, what they said, but it had been almost 6-7 days. So that 72 hours was long past. So they gave me nerve pills, nerve blocking pills, some pain pills, and antibiotics, which was really crazy to me. I didn't understand it at all. Like, I guess when I was a kid, I had the measles, a case of the measles. And if that's the case, or the chickenpox, you can carry that, and then stress brings it out later on in life. which is a really weird combination to me. But there's a vaccine for it and everything. I obviously didn't think about getting it.
No, because it's mostly they recommend it for people older than us.
Right.
I'll
get it now.
Yeah. I think. Well, now you've already had it, so I don't even know if you can get shingles twice.
Yeah, I think you carry it.
Okay. Yeah, you can. Okay, it's rare, but I've had it before, dude. Not fun. I can't imagine getting that in the middle of the bush. How far away from the takeout were you?
It was a day or two. I don't know.
Dude,
it was a day or two.
I'm going to say that is pretty tough because I was on my ass when I had shingles. I remember having to get up and go to the hospital and then going to get my eyes checked because they're like, yeah, you got to get your eyes checked because it was close to my eye. If that infection, if the rash gets into your eye and starts scabbing it all, like you could go blind kind of thing. And I remember sitting there in the optometrist and feeling like, I feel like an absolute bag of shit. Like I wanted to die. I can't imagine having to paddle and portage for 2 days.
Sweat on it and bug spray on it.
Yeah.
And getting bit on it.
Well, you did then. You had a lot of bug bites on top of the shingles scars, man.
Exactly. That's I was scared that when I went to the hospital, they weren't going to believe me that it wasn't just bug bites.
Right.
I didn't know what it was, but I knew that it was the same thing that happened before I went camping. It was just gotten worse and worse and worse, and the bug bites were on top of it. I was so worried. I was going to go in there, they'd be like, you just got bug bites, buddy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But obviously they didn't. And then, so I got scarred real bad all up here. And then I have phantom like pain itch all the time in my eyebrow. And that's exactly where it started, right here in my eyebrow. Yeah, man, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. It was like a burning, itching, like deep though. Deep, like crazy feeling, man.
Yeah, when I had mine, it was like a similar thing. It was brought out because it was that really painful, but I didn't have something as bad as you had, but I was working like a stressful job, super long hours, sleeping for 4 nights a week, like day in and day out, working when I worked in mineral exploration. And I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, probably didn't need to. And that's when it came out, dude. And it was like, pff. And then I felt the sensation come back. You know, when it comes back is like sometimes before planning big trips.
Okay.
So when I'm dealing with like the stress of planning like an expedition, I
can see that.
Especially the one that I did was that Ungava Peninsula walk, which was probably the craziest thing I've ever done. And like I was working with Tourism Quebec at the time, and they like pulled my funding because I couldn't guarantee that I was going to write an Explore magazine story. I didn't get like a confirmation. And so they're like, oh yeah, sorry, Jim. Like, sorry, Jim, we can't sponsor you anymore. You're a good guy. I'm like, oh my God. They're like, okay, fine. And I convinced them, okay, fine. If you can prove to us that Explore is going to write a feature, you can write a feature for exploring this trip, we'll come back in. I'd already gotten all this money from sponsors and spent it all, right, on the trip. Anyway, so
Tabernacle.
I got it all done like last minute. Explore, awesome feature, but I got shingles.
And you could
and I just like the beginning of the Ungava Peninsula, I was like, ow, 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 with every step, man. You know. Oh,
it's not fun.
Yeah,
certainly not a fun time. Though.
No, it's not easy, man. It's doing all this kind of stuff, dude. Like doing all these different kind of trips. Like people see the YouTube side of things,
the end finished product,
right? Yeah. But it's hard for them to see how much, even though you're pursuing something that you love, it's hard for people to see how much actually work and time and risk goes into building something like that. How long have you been at it? And how long have you been at camping and outdoor exciting, cool outdoor stuff? And then how long have you been actually filming it and monetizing it?
What's funny is like, I think they started really, really, really close to each other. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know anything at all. I still don't know anything, but I didn't know anything about camping. And I went on to an outdoor forum, Bushcraft USA, to learn because I didn't have any friends that were into it. And like, honestly, even when I learned, like, I taught myself how to do the bow drill, and I thought that was a huge accomplishment.
That's a big deal.
There was no like YouTube instructionals. I remember getting books like Morse Kahansky's Northern Bushcraft and looking at the crude rudimentary drawings he put and going off that and like going and cutting people. I lived in Windsor, dude. I would go and cut people's limbs off people's trees and dry it out of their yard. And dry them in front of a dryer. Yeah. Like a little portable like heater. Yeah. And then try it out inside. Yeah. But anyway, sorry. So I think that I started the YouTube thing probably like 15 years ago now.
Right. Yeah.
And I really did that in order to start putting challenge videos and skill videos and stuff like that up onto that forum, that Bushcraft USA forum, because I wanted to enter into contests and like prove myself almost, because there was a bunch of like military American dudes grown, and I'm a young little skinny Canadian guy, and like a lot of those guys I really looked up to, and I still do.
Yeah.
And I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to prove, because I always thought that you could fake through pictures. I wanted to prove, so I always posted videos, and YouTube was just my catalyst of doing it. So that's the only reason I started YouTube. I couldn't make a dime at that point. You could not monetize, and but before that, for camping and stuff, like that's when I really started doing like trips, like canoeing trips and stuff. Was with, and I would film them. I would go with Ken, my old boss, Ken. My buddy, and also I would go with for Kyle and Doug, and we would just start learning and filming all that stuff at the same time, basically. So I want to say like maybe like 12 to 15 years ago I started all this.
Yeah, and it just sort of little bit by little bit started to build, because I remember that's how you got on my radar before I ever knew you. I'm like, who's this guy doing this cool like camping, survival, bushcraft kind of stuff? And I remember going in there, and at that before that time, if there was anything much, it was sort of like short kind of instructional videos,
a lot of that,
but not like a more long form kind of show almost, right? And I remember that, not knowing what I was going to learn, what I wasn't going to learn, but you watch your stuff and you just kind of follow it along, and next thing you know, I'm like, whoa, this guy's doing a few different things. Like the thing that I learned from you was just a simple how to hang your bag on a tree. You take a piece of parachute cord, little T kind of grip at the end, wrap around, pop it through the top, hang it. Then your bag's right on a tree. You don't have to bend down and pick it up. You can just access it, like having like a cupboard, your own cupboard there, kind of. Another one I remember seeing was just the way you split wood. I'd always, try to balance it up, or balance a split piece up and split it again, but just how you would hold the axe and the piece of wood together, boom, chop it, split that to make kindling, twist it, like just little things that you just would go through the motions in your video, that there were so many kind of little things to take out of it and learn. And I was like, oh man, this guy's doing some pretty cool stuff.
That's awesome to hear, man.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? When you're saying that, I'm just thinking, I learned all that stuff from those dudes. All that stuff from those guys on that Bushcraft USA forum. Like I would go and learn like in person. I went and met up with them all the time. Like I flew to Iowa, Missouri. I drove over to Ohio all the time. I learned all that stuff from like basically one guy, Terry Barney. He was a SEER instructor, and like all that stuff is like just drilled into those guys, right? And like that's for me now, like maybe not so much now, but back in the day, it was like 3 times the prep, 3 times, like I'd always do 3 times the amount of split wood I would need for the fire, because that's what was preached into my head, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's true, eh? That's what they say. Like when you think you have enough firewood, go get 3 times more.
100%.
It is really true. Sometimes I have too much though nowadays. And like when I'm winter camping, I'm like, okay, maybe I didn't need quite this much. But yeah, for the most part, it's a good way to go about things, What was it that gave you that drive? Like, why did you want to learn this stuff?
It's a good question.
Like you just got into it and you got like a passion for this, and it sounded like just to be able to drive to Iowa, to post, to upload videos, show them, share them with the community people, and just have this like you clearly like a passion for this kind of skill grew out of it. Like what was it that excited you about it?
Man, I think it was honestly living in Windsor. Like it was just having none of that around. Like having absolutely no bush. Like me and my buddy like had a little camp fort type thing. And this actually was way before all that stuff too. So maybe I was wrong about when I think I started. I wouldn't say I started camping and stuff way before, but I was always outside building little forts and stuff. My buddy in Windsor had a little patch of woods. It was like half the size of a football field in between 2 factories on Walker Road, and we would go and sneak in there and build forts and like try to snare rabbits and stuff.
Cool.
But I think honestly it came from that, having nothing, having no sense of wilderness in Windsor. I had those little patches of woods that I could practice. But I remember watching like Grizzly Adams and Little House on the Prairie and things like that with my mom growing up, and my mom did take me camping and stuff too. I think I always was just like enamored with the outdoors, and I didn't ever get to experience it. So when I did finally, I just embraced it and just took off like blinders. You know what I mean? Like I said last night, like the last 10 years of my life has been nothing but going out and shooting videos and coming home and editing those videos and going out and shooting more videos. That's what my life is.
So when you were able to break out of, I guess out of Windsor, which is, it's not like it's downtown Toronto.
Nope.
I mean, there's farm fields and stuff, but there's no kind of crown land, no public land, no kind of bush,
Not
right?
for like 4 or 5 hours.
And you managed to find little sections even between two factories where it was sort of wild. What was it like? What was the feeling the first time that you kind of were old enough to kind of break out of there and go to some place that was sort of much more wild, like an Algonquin Park or Tomogamy or something like that?
It was awesome. Like Will, my wife and I moved up to Sault Ste. Marie in 2007 to go to school. And like, I think that was when my eyes really opened because like Algoma, man, you know what I mean? Like driving up on 17 and seeing Lake Superior there and just seeing the size of the hills, all the rock exposed. I had gone on previous like camping trips to Algonquin and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was really wild, but now you think of Algonquin as like your backyard type thing, which you wouldn't really call it too wild, but it still is.
For where it is, it definitely is.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Sault Ste. Marie, man, and like that's part of the reason I live up near there again is because I really fell in love with that place, and like I really understood like there's bush where nobody owns it. You know what I mean?
No.
You can go and do whatever you want. Because I also lived in Huntsville before that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we lived in the Hidden Valley ski little community right there, right by Deerhurst.
Neat.
Yeah, we worked at Deerhurst. But there was no private land.
No, well, it's all there's very small patches, if that.
And I couldn't find
everything's owned by something. Everything backs onto a golf course.
Exactly.
It's sort of like a wilderness. I remember I used to have this reoccurring nightmare that like the bush kept getting developed at my family cottage, and then I talked to my mom and my brother, and they're like, "I'm having the same dream." It's like you have this dream where all of a sudden there's like condos getting built at the end of the lake, and like the city's like enclosed, like a deer's nightmare, probably. You know what I mean? That's probably
That come true.
yeah. That's kind of how it's become right around Huntsville, which still has wild areas. It's close to Algonquin Park and stuff, but I wouldn't not really wild. So to be like you walk through bush and you come out and like there's a Walmart there, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and that's how I felt about it. But yeah, again, the Sault Ste. Marie area was.
What did you do at Deerhurst?
Oh man, I sat behind a desk and planned people's excursions.
Yeah,
it sucked so bad.
Oh, you planned other people's excursions
and wasn't allowed to go and do them and wasn't allowed to do nothing but stand there and wait for people. And like for a few months out of the year, there's not really many people there. You know what I mean? Like depending on timeline, like after Christmas rush or like, depending on spring, there's just not a lot of people. So there's just locals coming and playing squash and stuff. So I'll be sitting there behind the desk for hours doing nothing. And that killed me. I hated it. I hated it so bad. But Will was an esthetician there and she worked in a spa and like worked on famous people, made a killing, loved her job and stuff.
What famous people are you allowed to say?
Shania Twain?
Cool.
There was like can't remember the other one. But anyways, pretty famous.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Les Stroud came in a couple times.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. He still lives in that area, doesn't he?
I don't know if I think he has a house around there.
Yeah, cool.
Because I think he lives in Colorado as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, nice. There, Colorado's beautiful, man.
Never been.
Yeah, I've driven through it before. It's pretty cool. It's not like it's more populated than BC, than northern BC for sure, but you do have the mountains and the little ski towns, and there's like elk herds, and there's still a good amount of public land.
We went out to Alberta last year for the first time. That was the first time I ever saw anything like that little ski town type thing.
Yeah, cool. I know. And it's a small town, but it's like $1 billion to buy a house kind of shit.
For sure.
Yeah. I can't imagine you sitting behind a desk, Joe. Was that like a catalyst? Was that like building up like, oh my God, I don't want the rest of my life to be like this. Like I got to find a way to actually not plan other people's excursions, but do my own at that time?
Dude, honestly, I was so bad. I never had any kind of knowledge of what I wanted to be,
right,
or anything like that for the longest time. Like for a long time. Like when I was a kid, people were like, I want to be a doctor and I'll fire. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And I can't say that sitting behind that desk solidified that but I knew that I couldn't work like inside a normal job. I knew that I couldn't go work at a factory because that's like a normal Windsor thing to do. I was actually really, really lost for a long time until like the YouTube thing just happened organically.
That's so funny because how the heck would you have known
wasn't
what
a
you
thing.
wanted to be because it didn't exist, right?
Right.
What do you want to be when I grow up? Something that doesn't exist yet. You know what I mean? Like, how would you even
You couldn't.
go to school for that?
Right.
What did you go to school for, by the way, to post-secondary?
Natural resources.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I took field park operations and a field naturalist course at Sioux College.
Oh,
which was
cool.
great.
Yeah. Sioux College is Powhatan. That's what they call it, Sault Ste. Marie.
Powhatan.
That's a Ojibwe, Central Manitoulin or something like that dialect.
What does it mean?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not sure. You think I would know that, but so you must have learned some stuff
100%.
about the bush, about plants.
For
okay,
sure.
that sort of explains to me because you're a guy who has a pretty good knowledge of plants and animals, at least compared to your average person. I would say, like, can you tell what's a maple tree and what's an oak tree, sort of thing?
Yeah.
Right.
Like trees are my thing. I love trees. I had a really, really good teacher. The dude was like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Gandalf all in one. Like it looked the part too.
Obi-Wan Kenobi and Gandalf. There are some similarities
Yeah,
there
right,
visually.
right.
Yeah.
But no, he was great. And a lot of the things he did stuck. He taught us with bizarre association, and that really stuck in my head. He would just say weird things about the trees that had to do with their names. And for some reason, it really worked for me.
Like what?
Like, American Beach. The leaves on an American beach tree look like waves almost. So you could say like, oh, me and my American friend went to the beach. When you look at the leaf and it just goes like just stupid, weird things like that. He literally called it bizarre association. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. Because they say it's funny how learning more, like having to remember more things actually allows you to remember less things.
That's
long
crazy.
term.
Yeah. Dude, he would come into the class and he'd have things written on the board like, what if the hokey pokey really was what it was all about? And like just weird things. He's a good guy, man.
Come in class, right?
He'd be like, if you're in the bush, call your friends, tell them to bring their books. If you got your books, get your friends, go to the bush. And you just like say all these weird like variations of that. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah. Having a good teacher makes all the difference, eh?
I agree.
Yeah. Did you get out into the outdoors at all during that when you're taking that course?
Yeah, we had the bush lot across the street. We did every day we were outside. We did a 72-hour winter survival course.
Oh yeah.
Where we built quinzies and stuff. I learned a lot, man. I actually got hired as a winter survival teacher for Sioux College a couple of years ago. And it was a cool full circle thing for me, but they wanted to do online learning, and it was after COVID. They wanted to still do the online learning, and I just couldn't wrap my head around trying to teach winter survival online and then being responsible for people's lives. Really.
Yeah, you can't exactly like jump through the computer and like warm up their little frostbitten tootsies, you know?
Exactly. Like it, and then like what I get like blamed for something that happened. You know what I mean? Like it was weird to me. If I was in person with them, for sure. And I wanted to, but once I found out it was online,
it's just not nearly as cool.
No, I didn't want to do it.
So for those of people that don't know, can you explain what a quinzee is?
Oh yeah. Quinzie's like what do we call it? A poor man's igloo, where you just pile a bunch of snow, like 6 feet around, 6 feet high if you want, depending on size and people, and let it solidify. And then you just dig it out, build a little dupe for a door, call it good. And cold well as well too, right? You build a little cold well in there.
So you build a platform on either one side or both sides that's higher with snow and then dig it out in the middle.
So the cold.
Yeah. So I can't say I've ever slept in a quinzee before. Now I'm going to have to go do it because you're selling me on this. Yeah. But I've been in one before. And I definitely feel how much warmer it is inside
no question.
there.
Yeah, well, snow is a great insulator.
Yeah.
Well, then you build it like a foot thick or whatever, right? And you stick sticks in it so you know foot long sticks so you know when to stop digging. So you don't make it too thin.
So from the inside, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I did have that happen when I didn't use the sticks. I'm like, almost done. Oh.
Skylight.
Yeah. It just collapsed on me after hours of digging. Yeah, it was not fun.
Up.
Yeah, it was not fun. Yeah, no, quinzee is a Dene word, which is a northern Athabascan language, and they live sort of up to the tree line just below where the Inuit live.
Okay.
So English, that is actually a native word, Quincy. And it's funny because as soon as you go north of the tree line, the snow is super hard packed, and like the Inuit can cut blocks.
That's right.
But south of the tree line, it's like more fluffy, and so you have to pile it up and dig out the middle. You can't cut blocks.
Okay, I did not know that.
But it's just funny that they're both the same kind of shape, isn't
Yeah.
it? You know
That's
what I mean?
wild. I always wondered, like, because I've tried to cut blocks before, and it just doesn't. We have to have like the primo snow for that, but they
Yeah.
always have that up there.
Right.
Okay.
It's rare around here. In most places they do. And it's when I'm, up in the Arctic, that's one of the things that I remember researching because it's so windy and there's very little places for shelter. So you have to build, even if you're not building a proper igloo or snow house, you have to build a snow block wall to get your tent up.
I've seen you do that, no?
Yeah. And I remember being like, okay, like researching this, I'll just build a snow block wall. But then when I get up there, the snow is so hard packed by the wind. I didn't realize that you had to like chop the blocks out. I thought you could just like stick your knife and be like,
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there. It's a freaking blizzard. It's like dark. I'm like, this is really scary and dangerous. There's no way I'm getting my tent up, and I can't even cut one block. And I'm like trying to cut it and pulling the knife. And I just remember being like fearing for my life and being like, literally being like, oh crap, and like punching the ground in anger. And then all of a sudden my knife was like, went through the. So I'm like, that's how you do it. I swear freaking that like somebody was there to save me on that one.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, please God, help me. Darn it. It worked. You know what I mean? I built the snowblock wall and I got in. I was there with my dog and I grabbed him in the tent. I'm like, we're going to live, bud. Right? And after that, like no problem. No problem. I just was able to do it. But here you're pretty like, how many times every couple of years you even get snow conditions like that here? You know what I mean?
Well, even this year where I live, we don't have barely any snow.
So Algoma is essentially your backyard though, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can walk out like the living in Windsor and doing all these videos for this long, dude, I would have to get it. Like I did it for half my career living in Windsor. And so I would drive, 8 hours one way at least, be gone for a night, 2 nights, and come back and then edit those and go again. So now I can just walk out my door. It's great.
Yeah. I love being where I am too, because there's stuff in my area. I live on the Magnetawan River, but also on top of that, I'm like, I can have my boat in the water in, Lake Temagami in 2 hours, right? I have Algonquin Park, Tim River access point, Amable Fawn North T access point, all within a close distance. But you're like another level to where you have like just God's country within a couple hours of your place.
There's just endless. I haven't even explored. I haven't hit a dent.
Yeah.
And I've tried. Like,
right. Yeah. It's tough, man. Even when I moved to this area, I think about 6 years ago now, I remember looking at the map, being like, oh, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. And then I'm just like, okay, I'm not retired with I'm like, maybe pick like 2 of these things this year. Right. And this is just a tiny area compared to like the real more wilderness areas where you live. Right.
Well, and with you, especially you're doing these big trips, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to, when you're home, you kind of want to be home too.
Right. Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard for me to get a lot of small ones in, So last year, some of the areas that you explored not too far from you, I saw the Sand River.
It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that like?
It was awesome. I had always wanted to do it. I've heard nothing but good things about it, but the logistics to get to the put in sucked. So I always have heard people like hitting it halfway down off like Wildcat. So
what's Wildcat?
A lake in Lake Superior Park.
Oh,
so
okay.
The Sand Lake starts way up here, and then the river runs out of it all the way down to 17, which you've driven past a million times, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. Right. The highway cross it right at the base, right at the end of the river.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, really
tons of brook trout. People are always in there fishing and stuff, but that cuts off a big chunk. Going in that way cuts off a huge chunk of the trip and the most remote part of the trip. So we wanted to get in good, and we got a little shuttle. Forrest the Canoe, actually. Tosh and I hired Forrest the Canoe, who works out of Sault Ste. Marie as like a outdoors kind of guy, to shuttle us there. So we took my truck and and then we left Tosh's at the end. And it took us only like 3 nights, I think. Maybe.
That's not bad.
No, we did it.
Did you?
Quick.
So you did start at Wildcat Lake?
No, we started. Right,
you started right at the top.
Yeah,
okay.
we went all the way to Sand.
I thought you had to take a train to get in there or something like that.
Yeah, there was something like that actually before. You could, but that train I don't think does that anymore.
Okay.
Which is the problem.
Okay.
But yeah, so just a little bit of logistics. But anyways, we got in. Waterfalls, brook trout to no end, moose. We brought Wolf. He was great. Wolf the dog. He was really good. We saw 2 like infant moose, so young that they couldn't even run away. But yeah, really, really, really cool spot. I would certainly do it again. Probably just going in from Wildcat though, just 2.5. In all honesty, that half down was the better part of the trip. It was funner in the rapids and more fishing and stuff like that. But it was cool to do the whole thing.
Cool. Did you see any other people in there?
We saw these hunters. They had a oh no, sorry, that was a different trip. We saw Beauty of the Backcountry, the couple that have you heard of those guys?
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen their name pop up on my socials.
Yeah, the nice couple. We saw them on the last day. Yeah. Had a really cool site. But other than that, nobody.
Cool. What do you like about going more remote, about a little more remote of a trip?
If I'm going to go a little bit more remote, I like to be by myself because I like to, or with the dog. I like to not have to run anything by anybody. You know what I mean?
That's technically more dangerous. So when you go remote, you also like to go more remote and solo.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know. I have my inReach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I tend to think more when I'm by myself. I tend to pay attention to the route a lot more when I'm by myself, where I'm really guilty if I'm with somebody, kind of just being lackadaisical about looking at the map and stuff.
And kind of hope that they know what the heck's going on, more like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in that position before where I'm like, oh, still no. And then they're thinking I know. And all of a sudden it's like, where the hell are we?
Yeah, well, the good thing on my end is nobody thinks that I know. So. But when I'm by myself, I do. You know what I mean? I really pay attention. I make notes. So I like to go by myself. And then I like to feel alone. I like to feel remote. And I like the fact that the fishing's great when you're way more up there. A flight in is always cool to me too. It seems, or a train in, but a flight in always is like a certain feeling to me. You know what I mean? Like you're here now. You're gonna do your thing. And I also really like the fact that when you're in those places, you don't have to book. Like I'm gonna be here this day, here this day, here this day type thing, right? I want to be able to sleep in. I want to be able to have a wind day. I want to be able to leave at 3 a.m. if I want to. You know, all these things for different reasons. And I don't want to have to run them by anybody, the park or my partner.
So essentially, there's less rules, and when you're in a remote place, because there's kind of no park rules, and also you can travel at your own pace and do kind of the things you want to do.
Exactly. If I want to stop at a rapid and fish and have a shore lunch, like I'll just, or if I don't, you know what I mean? That's how I feel, and it's like. Anybody that I trip with is good. You know what I mean? They're not going to put up a fuss about any of that stuff either. It's not, that's not the thing. But I think just making my own decisions and being able to do what I want when I want is really, because you know what I mean? I've lived with people I've never been on my own ever. Right. Like I live with my mom, my grandma, my wife, my kids, you know what I mean? So when I'm alone, it's nice to be alone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I thinking about what you said about kind of thoughts coming to you, you sort of get into this sort of meditative state almost. And I've had that before where just cool kind of thoughts come in that almost seem like they're coming from somewhere else. Yeah. You know?
The clearest my head ever has been is on these trips. Like I thought of both my daughter's names when I was out there. I really solidified the fact in my head that we needed to move out of Windsor on one of those trips, and we went and did it right away. I just do my best thinking, and also like you're saying, like actually, like thinking is also like I'll take time aside when I'm laying there to think. Like I want to lay down. I'm going to go to bed early. I'm going to lay there and I'm going to think. That's what I'm going to do. Or I'll read, but I like to think, like you're saying out there.
And it just gets rid of all that other clutter, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm not thinking about bills and anything at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just things that matter.
More in the moment for sure, which is probably more of our natural state to be in the moment. But yeah, man, I've had some cool ideas out there, things and thoughts that I've come home and mentioned them to people, and they've been like, whoa, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, I thought of that. I like it, man. I've heard some fly fishermen talk about that, like just on short kind of day floats, that you're just there and all you're focusing on is that fly and you're watching it on top of the water, and you kind of just get into this cool meditative state while you're surrounded by beautiful stuff. It's the same thing whether you're fishing with a spinning rod or whether you're just kind of paddling. Yeah, I saw you paddling with a single blade the other day. It does look cooler, dude. You're doing the J stroke. You got these sick looking tats. I'm like, yo, he looks way cooler with a single blade.
But this doesn't look cool.
It doesn't. It didn't look as cool. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. But I'm like, Tori, look how cool Joe looks with the single blade. She's like, he does.
Yeah, but I can't move anywhere. So there's that. There's that.
You look too cool when you made it 10 feet either, right?
Paddling in circles.
And here's where I came from, like 10 feet away. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying, man. I got a Swift Prospector. A 14-foot solo, not a pack boat. So I'll try this year to use that a little bit more. But Wolfie's getting packing on the pounds, so I might need a bigger boat.
I know, dude. I have a lot of people are like all up in arms, like, oh, you're using a double blade. That's not this. It's like, dude, there's more important things in life to get worried about. And honestly, my brother and I like just the feel of the single blade that's less splashy, less motion. You can do the
more finesse.
Yeah, you can do a quiet stroke, keep the blade under, sneak up on wildlife. But let's be honest, dude, it's not as fast and it's terrible in wind. Like when me and my brother did that Manitoba expedition, we were each soloing. And we were trying to keep pace with a group that paddled tandem. And plus, we had to paddle across lakes with big waves, way safer to have a double blade. Yeah. We never would have been able to do it with a single blade in that time. In that time, we wouldn't have been.
I believe it. And I would have said that across the board, that is the truth. But I went on a trip with somebody this year, Jason Bayans, and he was with Tasha and Jason Bayans, and he was paddling a single blade, and Tasha and I were double blading. And he was right there the whole time.
Was he? Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah, he was probably just internalizing his extreme pain because he's like trying to prove that single blade is good.
Single blade all the way.
Right.
Honestly, dude, like to me, I've never been a stickler for like what you're supposed to do, or like to me, I just want to be outside, and whatever means gets me there is the best for me.
I can relate to that too, because as much as I think canoes are cool, I'll see like an old birch bark canoe, an old wood canvas canoe, and I'll think, oh, that's neat, and I know about canoes. But at the end of the day, they're just the best way to access the backcountry. So for me, it's more about where the canoe takes me than just the canoe itself. Certainly. Can you relate to that?
Of course. Yeah. I didn't even like to canoe before. Yeah. I never even enjoyed it.
Right.
I sure do now. Right. I'll go out for a nighttime paddle, love it. But like, it was always just get me to a camping spot type thing.
Yeah. What's your, now this is an impossible question to answer. But what is your favorite place to paddle, in Northern Ontario, or one of your favorite trips that you can look at and be like, that was a sick spot?
Yeah, there's a place in Wabakimi that I did my Becoming Wild in Wabakimi series or whatever on right at the end, Cliff Lake, and that place is magic. There's like no getting around it. It was blue walleye, pictographs. After having 13 days of pretty flat-ish terrain, this whole lake is stovepipe straight.
Wow.
200-foot cliffs, all the way to 10-foot cliffs, all along it. It's amazing, dude. And like blue walleye in there like crazy. And then you could feel the spiritualness of this place. Like I certainly don't get all hippy dippy normally, but like I could feel it, man.
You went hard hippy dippy.
Hard hippy dippy. I braided my little hair and everything. But cool. No, it was amazing, and I'll always remember that spot. And then there was also a cool spot on the Kopka this year, pretty scenic, where I spread some of my brother's ashes, which I'll always remember that spot too, which was really cool. But yeah, man, there's so many good spots. There's so many. Algonquin, all of Algonquin, the Petawawa River.
Petawawa's sick.
Amazing, right?
Beautiful. Especially for where it is. Like usually Northern Ontario, north of Superior, Algoma, you get into more of that kind of rugged big hills, but the Petawawa has that too. Canyons,
crazy fishing.
Hills. Yeah, there's muskie in there too.
That's wild.
Yeah. I've only ever done it in the spring. and one time had like what I would consider at the time to be a giant muskie on, like, and by giant muskie is probably like 16 pounds or something maybe 18 pounds. But I was using it on brook trout line. So it's 6 pound test with a number 1 MEPS. And like, I got it right up to shore and like, I fought it forever and I blew it by like, I hooked it on the outside so it didn't bite me off. And I blew it by like trying to grab the line and it just snapped. And the fish went like on shore and back into the water, and I jumped in the water. I was like holding it like this, and it just squiggled out of my hands.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are you with the net? Like yelling at my brother because he saw this and he's getting the net. But like, I just sensed that there was some jealousy, which was resulting in his slow progression with the net.
That's so funny. That's such a brotherly thing to do.
Right?
Eh?
He's like, man, Jim's got a monster. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'll get the net. Here we go. Right? Oh, you lost it. Oops. Right?
Yeah. Then you find like a 10-pound rock in your backpack later on.
Yeah. Which probably wasn't true, but like part of me, I was just looking for someone to blame.
Yeah.
You know, like one time I lost a fish and I yelled at my girlfriend who was 200 meters away at camp, where was the net? You know, that didn't go over well. I highly don't recommend doing that if you want to have a happy girlfriend or wife.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Dude, that's funny.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The pet, and like there's also walleye in there. Doug caught a big walleye. We did it in the fall and we slammed the brookies and we walked all those portages like dummies. We walked all the ones at the end, which you could paddle through. We didn't know anything.
Yeah. Oh, you just weren't into the whitewater at the time?
Not at all. And we had those little pack boats.
Yeah, but yeah, it's risky with the lighter boats. They're not as durable.
That's right.
So if you smoke one rock, how is it going to start leaking on you?
And they're so small that I can't hop in his boat.
Right.
It's not like a safety thing like that at all.
Right. So you couldn't double up. And also when you're those canoes, you're sitting on the floor too, right? Sometimes sitting on the floor, it's kind of harder to jump in and out of the canoe. When you're on a seat, it's a little bit easier. So sometimes when you're in the shallows, it's not as hard as a kayak.
I'm fine to do. I'm so used to it, but for like normal people who aren't used to it, definitely. But like it does add stability, like being that low. And actually, I've done a lot with those pack boats since then, and like they can take a lot of abuse. We just were green. We didn't know.
Cool. Yeah, I like those. Look fast.
They're fast.
Yeah.
The Swift's actually got some big things coming out this year, new materials and stuff.
Right on. Yeah. And what would you say? So the Kopka, it's called.
Yep.
So that goes into the north shore of Lake Nipigon, or the northwest side of Lake Nipigon.
I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah. But it's up there. It's like well north of Lake Superior.
Yeah. It's north of Lake Nipigon. Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
So how would you compare that to the Sand River? Which one was better?
Man,
Kopka's more remote. Right.
I liked the Sand better for waterfalls, and like when I did the Kopka, I scraped the whole way through. It was very, very, very shallow.
Oh, okay.
So maybe it would have been a different story if it was higher water. But the scenic aspect of the Kopka at the end, there's this thing called the Seven Sisters. There's just cascading waterfalls everywhere. It's out of a movie.
Cool. I gotta try that. Did you do that crazy portage where people use like pulleys and ropes and stuff?
No, because it's not necessary.
Really?
No, there's Outward Bound went in there and went and made a bunch of pulleys, rope things and stuff. And Bruce, if you talk to him about it, he's a character, man. Bruce is the owner of Wabakimi Outfitters up there, and he's a good guy, full of knowledge. But like he'll just like lay you up and down. If you did that, he'll go up one side, you down the other. Like there's a normal portage, right on the other side. It's just a normal portage.
So what? It just Outward Bound put that in there to try to use as a teaching option, and then people just do it because it's like fancy or something like that.
Maybe.
So he's worried that it's scaring people away from the river. Probably.
I don't know. There's a lot of there was a lot of people on that river last year, but maybe somebody went in there with flagging tape and tried to like tape it all off, and I got turned around. My last day, I had 2 hours to get to the pickup point, and I was like, oh, I'm blowing through this, no problem, blah, blah, blah. It took me like 45 minutes to find the portage. I'm like scaling down cliffs. I have Wolf with me, and I can't even pay attention to him because I'm like turned around trying to find. There's just cliffs everywhere, and he's just like, I don't know if he's falling off a cliff or what he's doing. You know, he's fine, but like finally I like go under the flagging tape, and it's that way. It was crazy, man. I told him he lost his mind on that one.
Well, you're filming everything too. Yeah, see, that's one thing that people that are listening or watching this kind of forget. They hear these adventures, but you also have to capture them, and you can't be too shy or too embarrassed to show the realities of some mistakes or when thing goes wrong that are out of your hands or when things are scary.
That's what makes the video, man.
Right. So you're in, where were you? I think Woodland Caribou Park. So very remote wilderness area. And there's fires all around you.
Yeah.
And you finish your trip, or you're in a remote backcountry lake, and you're waiting for a float plane to come get you. This was a couple years ago, but it can't get you.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me about that one.
Yeah. Buddy Kyle and I went up and we're supposed to do like a 10-day trip or something. I think day 8 we were done.
Yeah.
And
you're a point A to point B trip?
We got dropped off in a float plane.
Yeah.
And we did a loop, and we came back to where we were supposed to be picked up.
Yeah.
So we were supposed to be picked up by a plane again.
No road access
anywhere near.
Yeah.
It would have been 5 days to paddle to the closest road access, and then it would have been like 200-kilometer dirt road or something like that, right? That's your road access. So we were almost out of food. We met up with these guys, and they ended up giving us a bunch of jerky and tiny little chocolate bars. And so we were living on that and fish for a while. But yeah, so we call it in, and we're like, we're done 2 days early. We want to get out of there. And he's like, you can't come out because that's what it was. The smoke too made us want to leave.
Right, because you're worried that you're gonna the fire would get closer, and then you guys would essentially catch on fire.
Yeah,
right,
which is not ideal. I was a little bit more worried about it than Kyle because he's from California and it's like used to burn in there. But I'm like, man, like it's thick in the air.
Yeah.
Anyways, make the decision. He can't come get us. Sit tight. Okay, that's fine because we still have food for 2 more days. And
that's because the weather was bad too. It was storms
and smoke.
Yeah,
right. So this fire came from the lightning, right? So,
right.
So yeah, we sit tight. Can't come. Now we're like 2 days past the 10 days, so we're like 12 days or something like that, and we're literally eating the last of our chocolate bars and catching fish. And thank God, like the fishing is easy,
right? You know so you weren't starving, but if you weren't out there actively fishing, you would have been going without food.
That's right. Yes, and we're at the point where like morale is pretty low. And spirits are low and energy is low. And then we call him and he's like, okay, be ready in 5 minutes. There's a break in the storm and there's a plane coming. So we're sitting there for days with all of our gear packed away every day. Like we'll get our tents out at night and sleep in them, but all of our gear's packed away all day. And we're just sitting there twiddling our thumbs. It's so boring. There's worse things to do for sure, but it's
right.
So he's like, hey, get ready. We scrounge, get our tarp put away because it's raining, all that stuff. He's like, there's a break in the storm. It's like out of a movie. We see the plane coming. Hear the plane coming, see the plane coming. We're like cheering, we're happy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this immense dark black cloud comes out of nowhere on this side. The plane sees it, banks, and leaves us.
Oh,
right.
No.
So now we're there again, and we're just like, no.
So they bailed
on us. I'm screaming, what is the meaning of this? Like, just like to God, like,
wow.
It was bad. And then a couple days later, maybe a day later, they ended up coming to get us, and it was a sketchy thing too. We had to stash one boat in the woods because it was a beaver. It could only carry one boat at a time.
Right.
We took 2 planes in actually.
Yeah.
So we had to stash one boat, and I had to lay down in the pack boat and paddle out with Kyle in one pack boat to the plane, in the choppy waves and everything, and then it was a sketchy ride home. But man, it was something.
Yeah, crazy, dude.
Yeah.
But then when you're flying away, were you like, that's going to be a cool video?
100%.
Yeah. It's, I guess, one of the positives when you are filming it is that if you're not afraid to show the misadventures, that at the end of the day, even though expensive, it took longer, this, that, and the other, at least you're going to have something like a riveting narrative to share with people.
Yeah, it was one of the, looking back, one of the most epic trips I've been on, you know what I mean? And I'm glad that it happened, but not at the time, certainly.
Yeah. No, I don't think your average person realizes how much it is like mentally challenging to wait for a pickup. Like that's one of the things, the canoe trips I've done where I have to rely on a plane picking me up.
I hate it.
It's not in your hands. All of a sudden you feel like you're a victim.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have control of anything. You know, it's the weather, the forest fire. I almost ran into that in the Yukon. I just got out of there when the pilot came to pick me up, and she was like scared because of the smoke. Then she flew back. I'm like, this is crazy. And she's like, oh, that was way better. And then after I left, it got really bad, and people were stranded. People had to bail from their trips and all this kind of stuff. And when you're waiting, and same thing of being windbound, you know, one day of being windbound, one day of waiting for a float plane feels like 4 days because you don't know whether they're going to come in like 1 minute or never at all.
Exactly.
Right. And it just is like, so you can't actually go and do anything because you have to be ready, and it's like, hurry up and wait. It's super frustrating, and you feel like your hands are tied because they are.
I totally, that what you said about you have to sit there and wait. You can't go do anything. That's like one of the worst things about it. Yeah. And like from now on, like we were saying last night too, like, man, I'm going to be in charge of getting myself out of places.
Yeah.
Like I'll build the trip where I'm getting myself out. I'll take a plane in, I'll take a train in, a boat in, whatever the case may be, but I'm getting out on my own means.
Yeah.
If it's possible.
Right. And I kind of feel the same way, but also when you only have a given amount of time and you want to be in a remote area the whole time, when you're getting out on your own, usually you're kind of getting closer and closer to civilization the last few days. And usually also you have to take more time to do the trip.
True.
Right. There's more expensive and shorter ways to do things in remote areas. And then there's longer and less expensive ways to do it, which is kind of a matter of fact. But yeah, sometimes, man, especially now with the unpredictable forest fire situations that we have going on, you know, I'd second guess that as well, man. You know, but I've had a couple situations like that that are interesting too, man. I've never been up to Woodland Caribou. Would you recommend that as a good spot to go?
You know what? I really would. And even with all of the hectares, like it was like 200,000 hectares that burned, it just looks like when I went to the Northwest Territories, basically. Yeah. Like it's rock, exposed rock, hilly, moss. There's some dead trees, there's some live trees, there's some, there's all stages of growth, but like, it's not the surface of the moon by any means. Right. It's totally fine to trip there, even right now with the burn. I like it a lot. It's a cool spot. It was my first real wilderness place I went to. I'll go back. I think I like Wabakimi more just because I have like more experience there. Right. But Woodland Caribou, and it's closer for me. Right. It's quite a bit closer. Yeah. Woodland Caribou is far. It's up there. It's at the end. What is it? At the end of 17, right? Right. Yeah. It's getting towards Manitoba. Like it drains into like Winnipeg, right? Yeah. Like that's actually a trip I'll probably do this year, is the blood vein down into Winnipeg. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I've never done it before. Nice. It looks sick though, man. So you were up in the Northwest Territories as well, you just mentioned, and that was catching lake trout too. Yeah, big old Lakers and grayling. Cool. What's the biggest lake trout that you caught up there? 30 pounds. Wow. It was a beast. Yeah. Like when you're holding it up and the stomach does that sag thing, it was that. I remember, but I have some experience being up on Great Slave, and it was late in the season. I'm just like casting from shore in front of the lodge, and I'm catching probably like 12, 15 pounders. Believe it. And I'm like, wow, the fishing here is crazy. And the main guide's like, oh yeah, by this time of year, all the big ones, they're all gone to different places by this time of year. I mean, he's like telling me like, this is terrible. I'm like, this is like the best thing I've ever experienced. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Like it's just another freaking epic world. I did a camp out when I went, because I stayed at a lodge when I went there. I did the fishing and stuff, promote the lodge. And then I did a camp out though. And they're, like you're saying, I would just cast off the rocks, man. I was catching, like eaters there are this big. Yeah, it's like hard to catch a fish small enough to eat. Right. Yeah, you have to and then you have to force feed yourself because you don't want any of it to go to waste. Did they do a season of Alone there? Yeah, up on Great Slave they did 2. I think it was 7 and 8, 6 or 6 and 7 maybe. But yeah, there was it was cold for people, and then it got really dark by late in it. Yeah. But it was also like
a lot more food.
There's resources.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
people were catching big pike, big laker, guy got a moose, guy got a muskox. Everybody was snaring tons of bunnies.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody was snaring bunnies. And then one year, especially, there's like explosion of berries because the forest is so sparse there.
Yeah.
So you just go and just all the and it's all like spruce needles. So blueberries love acid, and spruce needles put a lot of acid. That's why you see so many after a clear cut, so many blueberry bushes after a clear cut up north or spruce or by Sudbury where there's just like so much acid rain, just loaded with blueberries, right? Until they changed what they burnt and all that. But so I was kind of jealous because they were pounding like a good amount of food, but it was also like minus 30. So I don't know. Yeah, exactly, man.
I thought I heard about that. I thought it would be a decent place to try to do that.
Yeah, I love it's sick up there too, man. It's cool, man. I'm listening to all these stories and I guess I can relate to, but you've been doing it longer than me. It's just how does it feel to be one of few people that gets to do these things for your job?
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah.
Like I could never go and do anything else, work anywhere else, and have this freedom, do what I want to do, and get paid what I get paid, be able to
slam 30-pound lake trout,
spend time with my family when I want to, take time off when I want to. It's been really good. Like, don't get me wrong, it's been a lot of work as well. Like a lot of sacrifice for it, and nobody wants to hear that from a YouTuber.
Right.
I get that, but like it's the truth. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, is just following just your passions necessarily all that it's cracked up to be, or is there a lot more to it than just watching your videos?
Yeah. Like they say, find what you love to do.
Yeah.
Make it your job. You'll never work a day in your life. And I'm here to tell you that's wrong. I've turned my passion into my career.
Right.
So now I have to do it. You know what I mean? Which again, poor me, I get that. But I don't always want to go out and spend time away from my family camping in negative 30-degree weather, or especially even when like now when there's no real payoff for it. Like it's like I did all that stuff for the love of it. You know what I mean? Now people expect things, right? Expect you to have videos out, and when you don't, they get upset with you and things like that. And I did all for the love of it, created my passion into my career, and now it's what I have to do infinitely.
Right.
You know what I mean? Definitely.
Right. Yeah. It's like, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
It's just like, it sounds to me kind of like what you're saying too is, don't get into something like this for the wrong reasons, or don't think I'm going to follow my passions and it's going to be stress-free and it's going to be an easy road.
I honestly, this was the most organic thing that happened to me. I didn't go into it thinking I'm going to make a buck. I didn't at all. I didn't think I was working. I worked 2 jobs for a long time until I finally realized that I could just do this for a living. But no, I certainly would never ever tell anybody to go into this thinking that they're going to make money or thinking that their life is just going to be a cakewalk now and everything comes to them. I didn't sit at home. I didn't just sit at home and this all happened to me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I was out there busting my nuts, doing a lot of stuff, making stuff happen. And I'm happy for it. I'm super proud of myself for it, what I've been able to do for my family and others. It's great. And I would never take it back. I would never change anything. And I'll never quit. I have a responsibility to my family to continue providing for them in the best way that I know how. And this is it. And I still love it. You know what I mean? It's great. I love going canoe tripping. I love going backpacking. I love meeting up with people and doing things together. I certainly don't always want to go out and camp in the backyard under a tarp and make a fire and do a bushcraft thing. That's what sells for me. You know, what I want to do is canoe tripping expeditions and stuff. And that's not as such a big hit.
Right.
But I have to have my own peace of mind and my own at the same time. You know what I mean? So there's definitely a balance. There's a mix of it. And I've done that for as long as I can remember.
Yeah. People like the more bushcraft, more kind of survival type of stuff.
And that's understandable because like that, my channel name was Joe Robinet Bushcraft for the longest time. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what started with, but it's been so many years since I've focused on that type of thing.
It is a big draw on TV and everything, like the whole kind of survival thing. But essentially, you know, being out there in a remote area is all you have is what's in your canoe, a fishing rod, a finite amount of food. You really have to use some serious skills, and there's no chance to go, you know, jump back inside when it gets raining, or, you know,
Certainly.
help can be a really, really long way away. I think for me anyways, a lot of those survival skills I practice, but I'm not necessarily using them, but you have to know them in case you have to fall back on it.
Certainly.
Yeah. Like when you're out there on one of these remote kind of expeditionary canoe trips, does it make you have more confidence that, you know, hey, you know what? I could sleep out here without a sleeping bag. I could sleep out here under just a tarp, or I could get a fire going with a bow drill.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm always prepared. Like I have always like a dry bag full of just like underwear and socks and stuff in my backpack, like that I know is safe. But what is even more of a safe feeling, like you're saying, peace of mind, is my skills, is to know that I know what to do if something goes wrong, and I know that I can do it. That said, like I didn't do a bow drill fire on alone, but like, you know what I mean? I knew what the case was there, right? It was a rainforest in the rainy season, and I could make one call and be out of there when to me, everybody else was still doing good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how am I going to last without, even if I get a fire going, I had a fire. How am I going to keep this fire going indefinitely? It was just impossible to me, right?
Oh, everything is so soaked there, man.
So it was, I couldn't, any piece of wood, I could wring water out of a dead piece of wood. So my point is, I do have those skills, and I'm happy that I do have them and stuff. And there maybe are some situations where it won't work, right?
Right, exactly. Sometimes Mother Nature slams the door, no matter how good you are at all these things.
I fell in the water in a blizzard on a canoe trip in the spring by myself, and
in a blizzard.
Yeah, just footage of it.
Yeah, okay.
So I didn't want my wife to drive to pick me up because of the blizzard. I was worried about her driving on the roads, and I had my inReach, so I messaged her. I told her what happened. I told her, come get me. I had enough wherewithal. You know what I mean? I was hypothermic. I got naked. I put my tarp up. I got in my sleeping bag and just laid there for the night. Told her, come get me in the morning.
Wow.
Everything was fine.
Yeah.
Totally fine. And I wasn't worried. Like I was upset, but I wasn't worried. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You weren't scared.
I wasn't scared. No.
Yeah. And that's really, I guess, the kind of skill. It's not really a skill, but it is in a way the best skill. And the only way that kind of you learn that is through experience,
man.
You know what I mean?
Dirt time.
Yeah, no, it sounds to me too, like, you know, this obviously is a passion of yours. Organically, you got into YouTube, which is kind of interesting. It's almost like you're such an OG in the space that you kind of like grew as YouTube grew, and you, before you're even able to monetize, and you kind of built, like you've been doing it for a long time. But it also sounds too like you driving force, as much as you love getting out there, be underneath it is what's pushing you when you don't necessarily want to go camping this day to get a new video out in -40 in the winter. But at the end of the day, it's you providing for your kids.
100%.
You know, just like kind of the rest of us.
Exactly. It's my job.
Yeah.
And I love it. I'm super happy about it. But even at the best jobs, some people don't want to go some days. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's what it is. I'm providing for my family.
Yeah.
Man. And there's no other. I never had a dad growing up, and I always told myself, like, I will not be an absentee father. I will provide for my family. You know what I mean? And there's just nothing would ever take that.
It's the best feeling ever, though.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, it really is, man. Just to be like, wow, I'm really doing it. I'm really providing for these kids. And not that I ever second guess myself, but even me sometimes, you know, when you're younger, how am I ever going to make that much money? How am I going to make ends meet and have all these things? Before starting a family, one of my biggest fears was like, am I going to be able to pay for these kids, have like a good life? And you know what I mean?
Tell me about it. We only had one for the longest time before that reason.
Right. Yeah.
There's like 7 years in between them.
Yeah.
When we were finally like, okay, we can do it. You know?
Yeah. So 12 and 5 are your two kids. Do you like getting them into the outdoors too?
Yeah, I do. And they like it too, here and there. we do toned down family camping trips a bit. We'll still go in the canoe and we'll go out and fish for the day and stuff. I don't really film a lot of those anymore. They never really did too well for me. And it's nice to just be with the family. Yeah. You know what I mean? But no, they get out. My oldest is asking me to go ice fishing this year for the first time, which is nice. We'll go and do that.
So you go out there, you're carrying everything you need, including your vessel, for weeks at a time in the bush. Do you need to be like a big, 6'6" mountain man to do this kind of thing?
I'm certainly not that.
No.
I'm a $140 soaking wet, but I've always been able to do it. You know what I mean? So what I have to do personally for me to be able to be somewhat comfortable out there and to be able to move around and stuff is I have to buy lightweight, expensive gear, right? Backpacking gear style. Like think about like an ultralight backpacker would do it. I'm not that crazy with it at all, but I have that mentality. So what I can carry on my back is about 30 pounds. I can carry a 30-pound pack with or without a canoe. Somehow that works. I don't understand how, but I can put a canoe on with a 30-pound backpack. So I used to get up off the ground, off the couch in the spring and just go canoe tripping and be fine. Like when buddy Kyle would go with me, he would train for it. You know what I mean? And I would get off being lazy, get up, do the drive and be fine. Nowadays it's a different story. You know what I mean? The age is catching up a bit. I'll be 40 this year. So I've started to go to the gym just to keep up with that winter downtime, basically. Like even though I'm still getting out and camping and things in the wintertime, I don't have that endurance type thing I do have in the summer where I'm portaging up hills with a pack on. So no, you certainly don't have to be a big buff guy. You certainly don't even have to spend a ton of money to do it either. You just have to know what your limits are and your parameters and work within them.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that might hold your average person back a little bit, thinking like, oh, I'm not this super fit person, or I'm not this big, naturally big person. And, that's probably why a lot of people that do this stuff are bigger, but at the same time, they don't necessarily have to be, because there's a lot of people that aren't, like Cliff Jacobson has a whole part in his book where, he's not a big guy at all. And he's out there for month-long trips and stuff like that as well. But is there anything like you've seen me and what I carry? So I'm like the opposite end of the spectrum. Is there any suggestions you would have for things that maybe I shouldn't bring or lighter things I should do or whatnot?
An axe is probably not necessary all the time.
Okay.
I love an axe. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jim, man. You're a big guy. You can carry a lot of stuff.
I'm starting to think that I need to go small. Like I'm not in as good shape as I was. I started trying to stay fit as well. And like, of course, I'm doing all these trips, but there are these kind of areas in between, like we were just talking about, where you're just at a desk editing.
Yeah, for days.
Like probably have like pumped fingers from typing or like pressing stuff, maybe like carpal tunnel. But there's a lot of time where you're sitting there answering sponsor emails or organizing.
Okay, so I would go titanium instead of steel.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I would go small hatchet or big knife instead of a full-size axe. I would go folding silky saw or the smaller Aggo is not heavy by any means. What else can you do? Less clothes. I barely ever change. If you bring a lot of clothes, I barely ever change. I usually just keep my one dry thing there and just wear the same stuff all the time. Lighter canoe. Yeah. Well, you have that super light. Your pack boat's pretty light. Yeah, it's like 26 pounds, 30 pounds, something like that.
Yeah,
but totally. I have to. I actually have to. I could not portage your boat. I couldn't with a pack.
What about your tent? Is that?
That's true.
I saw that looks super light. The one you're using, it doesn't have a floor in it though,
so
right?
it's removable. The Durston, the new tent I'm using is a Durston tent. He's actually an Ontario guy, and he lives out, I think, in Colorado now.
Okay.
Cool guy. We talked a couple times. But that tent is like maybe a pound, and it fits me.
A pound?
Yeah.
A pound?
Yeah. Maybe less.
Game changer.
Maybe less without the inner tent. So the inner tent has the bug screen, and it has the bathtub floor, and it comes completely out. And the one man can fit with the inner tent in it, only me, but without the dog and me because of the fly coming out. But the two mans, me and the dog all day. But yeah, a freaking pound, man. And waterproof as hell. So I would get a sil nylon tarp or a Cuban fiber tarp if you wanted to spend some money, as opposed to like a ripstop tarp, because that's gonna be small and packed down to nothing and be super light. Sil nylon.
And all these things, all these little things add up. Like I hear you talking, and I'm like, oh, what's the big difference from having stainless steel? And, well, what's the big difference with a little bit bigger a tarp or another change of clothes? But yeah,
it all adds up, dude.
Right,
those are pounds. Like they call them gram weenies. The guys who count grams, they freaking gram weenie.
Yeah, like cut your toothbrush in half kind of guys.
Toothbrush in half. Cut the elastic off your the headband off your headlamp and use a freaking elastic. Like crazy stuff. Like
what about just tearing out, burning all your maps that are the way back as you go to lighten your load? I've heard people tearing pages out of the guidebook and burning them from all the miles they've already trekked.
Goodness,
just
I would not recommend burning a map ever.
No?
But
okay.
Tearing the tags off your clothes.
Right. Yeah. Shaving your balls, you know?
Well, there's no end in sight, really. Pulling your teeth.
Save a few pounds, you know? Yeah.
But yeah, no, like honestly, just those things that I said would probably save you 2 pounds. You know what I mean? And then, and you could do that throughout the pack, a lighter pack. You know what I mean? Who knows? And it all depends, man. Like if you're rough on your gear, it's everything. I will preach this till the day. Everything is situational and trip dependent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to bring super lightweight stuff for a rugged ass build your own camp bushcraft thing. I'm going to bring leather and canvas, you know what I mean? Heavy stuff. On the other hand, I'm not going to bring that stuff when I have to do lots of miles.
So you have to have you have to be kind of trip specific,
definitely,
on the gear that you're bringing out there. Right?
And 90% of your gear can be all across the board.
Right.
What would you need differently? Maybe a heavier sleeping bag. You can use I don't even understand when people say 3-season tent. I don't even know what that means.
Right.
Use a friggin' tarp. It doesn't matter.
Right.
You just, and what does it even matter in the wintertime? Unless there's a blizzard, right? But your sleeping bag can be upgraded, or you can just add 2 small ones together for the winter. Other than that, like if you're if camping is our job, right? It's our job. We do it. If you were a carpenter, how many tools would you have?
Quite a few tools
for every job possible, for every situation. So that's the case for us, right? So and then it's also our hobby and our passion. So we're silly and buy things that we want to, you know what I mean?
And we can technically write it off because it's part of our business too.
And justify it to our significant others.
Right. Is always good. It's all part of the master plan. Yeah, no, I joke about it sometimes because, like when Tori was pregnant with Hudson, and I'm like, well, when the baby comes, we're going to need a lot of content to edit. So, I'm going to have to go on a month-long fishing trip with my brother.
Yeah. Doing one for the team here.
Really got to take one for the team, Yeah. Do you find it hard to be away from the family though?
Now I do.
Yeah, me too, man.
I never did before too much. And then I do. I do quite a bit now, and they don't want me to go either anymore. It's just been so much that they get upset when I leave, and then it's not a good vibe leaving to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You feel bad, and it's like, honey, do you like your clothes you're wearing, and do you like the food you ate today? Because Daddy's got to go make a penny
paying
here.
The bills, right? So it is true. It's a double-edged sword. Like, it's awesome you're doing these things, but you miss the kids too. So that's why I say, like, I'm only joking when I'm like, I got to go on a month-long fishing trip with my kids. But so I guess you get out quite a bit. So you're doing more. I'm doing like not as many trips, but maybe longer on average. Yes. Or I'm doing like, like
you're
a couple
doing bigger
weeks
expedition trips.
Yeah.
Fewer of those, but bigger logistic nightmare type things.
Yeah.
And I'm doing like smaller and small. And maybe 1 or 2 big-ish, not as big as you, but big-ish trips for a year.
Right, yeah. What's the longest one you've ever done?
10 days.
10 days?
Yeah. No. I went to Wabakimi for 12, I think.
12 days.
Yeah, so 12 days.
That's a long trip, man, for like a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
what's funny, too, is I always hear Kevin Callan talk about it. Like, back in the day, like a canoe trip was like a week-long, 10-day-long thing, right?
Yeah.
A 2-week-long thing. And now it's like couple day thing, and it's not the same at all, right? Like you have to, and this is not news to anybody, but you have to be out there for a long time to start to feel like it, right?
Right, right. You have to sort of let it soak in, and get what Kevin Callan says is too. Once you're out there for 5 days and you haven't been eaten by a bear yet, you're like, well, I'm probably not going to get eaten by one tomorrow,
Right.
and you kind of stop being scared, right?
That's another thing, dude. Is like, how many people ask you about bears all the time? It's a nonstop question to me.
Nonstop question.
I don't even think about it.
No, I doesn't really like. I'm not stupid about it. If I pull over at a campsite and there's like fresh steaming pile of grizzly bear poo and a carcass there, maybe I move on. But how many times have you ever seen something like that?
Well, personally, I've never had to deal with the grizzly, and maybe my attitude would be completely different. I might be totally scared of it. But for black bear, from what I've experienced and stuff like that, dude, like it's just a non-issue for the most part. Unless again, you're stupid or you go to a place that has been stupid people have been before you, where they're the bear's habituated for food or whatever the case.
Or somebody's leaving garbage around the campsite, or just even a place where people, the more used spot where people have been sitting there cooking, night after night after night.
That's another bonus about going to these wilderness places that aren't a specific campsite thing, where it's like, I feel less of a danger out there for bear.
I think 100% I would say definitely less of a danger. Like, I think Algonquin Park is more used, but that's where most of the bear danger has happened by just black bears, not the scary polar bears or the grizzly bears. I've seen grizzly bears before. Every one of them has just run away from me scared. But I get people that think I should be literally everywhere I walk carrying a loaded shotgun with you know what I mean? Like,
somebody's getting shot.
Yeah. Like, how am I going to carry a canoe and my right? Like that. But like, literally people think it's that much of a danger. Like, there's going to be a bear. You need to be armed to the teeth.
Right.
You know what I mean? And just like blasting at everything that makes a noise. You know what I mean? It's not the case.
I had one actually when I was camping with John from Lost Lakes, or that's his name.
Was that the Quetico one? Yeah.
No, we were just up in. Oh, it was up. Near his place, up in those Santoy Lake.
Okay.
Big lake. But back in there, we portaged into some remote stuff that nobody goes to ever. There's no camps back in there or anything. And he lost his GoPro the day before, and he went back in the morning to go try and find it. I stayed and I cooked breakfast, and there was no flat spot on this island we were at. Or I don't even know if it was an island, but there was no flat spot at all. Only a little bit of gravel, maybe that deep from the water's edge to the bush, and we were sat there because there was nowhere else. It was just thick. So we're right there, and I'm cooking, and I have 2 feet of walkable space, and all of a sudden I hear from the bush behind me this, and the trees moving and like crazy and stuff. I'm like, this is a bear. Like, there's no question, this is a bear. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, get. And I'm filming it, and I'm trying to play it up, right? So I'm like, I have my back to the thing. I'm filming like this. I'm taking a bite. I'm like, I think there's a bear here. I'm shooting. I knew he was gonna get a like on YouTube. That's why I did that. But I was a little concerned, to be honest with you, when I was throwing rocks and logs and screaming, and it wasn't leaving at all.
Weird. How, why do you think it wasn't leaving? Was it hungry? Was it
hungry?
What were you cooking?
Meat.
Yeah.
Like a sausage patty breakfast.
Yeah. Was it? What time of year was it?
It was early spring.
Yeah. Was it early spring? Yeah. Maybe they get hungry at that time of year. I've heard some weird things when there's like a bad berry year, and the berries don't come out, that they can get kind of squirrely
in the fall.
Yeah, I remember I had one come up to our campsite. We were camped by a waterfall, and again, it was a bad berry year. We'd seen one just not too far upriver from that campsite, and we were cooking, brook trout. We were cooking venison steaks. Right. So it smelled, and plus the sound of the waterfall was maybe covering them up. And I just heard the sound of a bear running away, right? And you start to learn these sounds, just like when you're talking about woof, woof, when you hear.
No.
Because, and how do you know? Because of process of elimination.
That's right. Nothing else is doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not a this, that's not a that. It must be a bear, right? And it's amazing how kind of quiet they can be, but that initial sound when they're spooked, especially when the sound of the water is covering them up. Have you ever heard of people that say they don't camp near like rushing streams because it sometimes they're more likely to have animal encounters?
I've heard and personally don't like camping near waterfalls because of the noise.
Just because you don't like the noise, right?
It's not that I don't like the noise, but I don't like to not be able to hear other things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not necessarily animals or being worried about it. I just personally don't like, but I have heard that. Yes, I have heard.
Have you? Yeah, because I only just heard that the other day, and I'm like literally like a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense because I've had that experience too, where just the sound of the river covers up the humans talking and just sounds like something, and animals might get curious or more likely to come to camp.
Certainly,
you know. But I've never had like a dangerous sort of bear encounter, like one kind of where one sort of ran at us for a bit, which was a black bear in Labrador. Yeah, well, I wouldn't even call it that. It was still too far. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was kind of sketchy. Yeah. Yeah, it was. But it was still like we scared away with a bear banger, but it was still like 50 meters away.
I always thought sound. I always thought sound over spray would be good, like a horn, like an air, like.
Right. Yeah.
I kept an air horn in my little possibles pouch for years for that reason. And one day I was like, oh, just test it. It was
didn't work.
Dead. Long dead.
Yeah. False sense of security, eh?
Packing the sticker out.
Yeah. Have you ever tried using those bear bangers before?
No.
Yeah, they're sick. I recommend those.
Did you pull it?
You get those at Canadian. You can get them at Canadian Tire, and it's like a little pen. So it's a pen, and then you screw looks almost like a shotgun cartridge, sort of on the end.
Okay.
You screw that in the end, and there's a little primer, and you pull back the spring-loaded trigger and release it, and it goes boom, and it shoots out this freaking explosive like about 50 yards and boom, blows up super loud. You can also put like little whistling flares and other things or colored flares on it.
It does seem handy.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I was using one not too long ago because there's something hanging out. My dog was acting all squirrely, and he was like, I think there was a bear. We were camped in BC near this campsite where there had been some Taltan native salmon netting operation probably like a few days before, so smells like fish and stuff like that. And I don't think it was an aggressive bear, but it was one that seemed a little habituated, and so I didn't see it, but I fired this thing off. But one of the things that people do with those is they fire it and they're all scared and they fire it behind the bear, and the bear runs towards them. So you go, but at the same time, like I knew the bear was here. I fired it over here. Like it's loud enough if it blows up here to scare the bear there, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, you got to incorporate a little common sense. It's sort of like if you're using a gun to defend yourself from a bear, but you shoot yourself, that's not going to work either. No. Point the thing in the right direction. You know what I mean? Like that matters, right? But they're pretty good. And I've actually had better luck using one of those than using than a gun before, because so I'm just shooting like a warning shot at the bear, but the explosion happens here and the bear's 50 yards away. But when you shoot the bear banger, it blows up like right in its face.
Yeah.
So it's not going to hurt the bear.
Scare the shit out of it though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it would scare the shit out of me if I just heard that randomly, you know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, animals, in general, I don't think they're as dangerous, Have you had any other scares or?
I don't think so. Like, no, I don't think. Not that I can think of. So it must not be like that crazy. No, me and Emerald, my oldest, were out on a hike one time, and there was a bear on a power line, and it was about 100 meters away or something. And it wouldn't leave. I was screaming at it, wouldn't leave. Then Emerald goes, "I love you, bear." And it turns tail and just hauls ass out of there. And we just to this day still talk about it. It was quite the story. Yeah.
She scared the crap out of it. Dude, what do your kids think about what you do, about dad? Like, is it just normalized? Like, they must think it's freaking awesome.
No, they think it's nothing. They don't care at all.
Really?
They think it's normal. Like,
oh no, dude, I was hoping to be a hero to my kids.
No. You're in the same boat because my kids were on TV with me, same as yours. Like, it's not. They don't care. They don't. It's like normal to them, right? So like people, I'll get recognized going into the Sault Ste. Marie to get groceries or whatever a couple times, and it's cool. I like hanging out, meeting people and stuff. But the kids will literally be like looking at me like, "Are you done yet?" Like it's not like, "Oh, somebody likes my dad. My dad must be cool." Like no, it's like I'm trying to shop. Are you done? Type thing.
Right.
They don't care.
That's funny.
They don't care at all.
Yeah, I guess it's normal. That's just normal. What you do, right?
It's what I did.
Yeah,
before.
My dad's just an outdoors mountain man, celebrity, whatever.
Well, since before both of them were born, right? Same with you.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know Hudson was pretty stoked for you to come over.
Nice.
I think that's why he took to you so much, because he saw you on TV.
That makes sense.
And I'm like, this is Joe. He's gonna come over. This is Wolfie. He's gonna come over. You know what I mean? And he was all excited. He watched a bunch of your videos. It's funny how kids, like, it's not like our videos aren't really an action-packed cartoon.
No.
You know, but yet somehow it seems kids are watch it.
I get
more.
that comment all the time, man. My kids are glued to your video type thing, which is cool. Better than like Coco Melon.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, Coco Melon just followed my wife.
Yeah,
Tori.
so don't say we cut that.
Yeah. Well, you know, but yeah, it's different. But they're learning, and they're getting close to nature and stuff. And do you ever get people telling you that their dogs watch your video?
Yeah, all the time. That people leave my videos on for their dogs while they're gone as well. And like a lot of people would, like, when Scout used to be in the videos or whatever, people would always send me. Even now with Wolfie and Trip, we're sending pictures of their dog watching me or my dog on TV. It's quite funny.
I've gotten that too. Yeah. And even comments like, when my dog sleeps, he dreams that he's bucking, traversing the Arctic wilderness. You know what I mean? Yeah. Do you like traveling with the dog?
I do. Yeah, he's good, man. I took him on a float plane. It was this past summer. He was 2 years old, not even. So that was one of his biggest trips. I think that was his biggest trip.
How did he react? Like, did he seem scared?
He got stressed near the end of it, pretty stressed out. And the only reason I could tell that he was panting like crazy. But other than that, like, he was fine. He didn't try to jump out. He didn't freak out and try to go in a different seat. None of that. He just kind of laid down and panted. So
did he look out the window at any point?
Yeah, when we first started, he was looking out the window like crazy, and then like near the end of it, I think it just got to be too much for him.
Right.
It was like, it's loud, you know what I mean?
It is loud. It's almost like you need a little ear muff
for him,
or
because
something.
their hearing is amplified 1 million times.
Right. Yeah. It's not like they're going on it every day, but still.
Right. But he's okay. Like, I've shot the shotgun with him in the canoe and stuff, and he doesn't flinch. Like, we were sighting in my 22 for grouse last year, and he laid down in between the target and we were shooting from. He doesn't mind the noises at all, which is good, because any other dog I've had, they were not about it.
Did you have to train him to not be gun shy?
No.
That's funny. I had a dog that I just didn't really train. I started shooting like pellet guns around him, and then a 22, and then by that time he wasn't scared of the shotgun. So maybe it's just that natural progression. But others that are just terrified. Yeah. You know, and so I made sure I trained North by using a starter's pistol.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, just to get him. But I noticed it also makes him less scared of just other things. Like, it just makes your life easier if the dog's not going to take off when he hears a firework.
Yeah, or like if you lived in the city, a truck hitting his brakes or whatever the case may be. 100%. I totally agree. Yeah, no, it's like what do they call it? Desensitized, something like that. Like, where
I'm not sure.
You introduce these things in a controlled environment so that later on it's not an issue.
Right. Yeah. So that's exactly, I guess, what the starter's pistol was, right? You start with like acorn blanks. They're not too loud. And you get the dog all happy. And you're like, hey, bud, let's play fetch. Let's play fetch. And here, let's have some treats. Yeah, let's have some. Yeah, let's have some treats.
You're not even paying attention to it at all. You're not making a big deal of it. You're just in the background.
Yeah. And I heard a trainer tell me that's also a way that you can get your dog to get over. They'll get over the fear of loud noise. Like, you know, some dogs, if the broom falls over, they'll be like, oh, Scooby-Doo, run, trash everything on the coffee table and whatever, cower or whatever. Yeah, she's saying that even dogs that are scared, you start with a starter's pistol, a acorn blank.
That makes sense.
Get them excited when they're happy, giving them treats, shoot it, pretend like nothing happened, and you know what I mean? Slowly go like that.
I think they do. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think for other applications with other things too, for dogs is like that. Like, yeah. Dogs are a whole other thing, man. Like, I always say to myself, like, what am I doing? Like, never again. You know what I mean? And then you can't live without a dog.
I know, it's a lot of work. Well, it's such a natural thing to be in the bush with a dog that like our ancestors were doing. Right?
It's all I've ever wanted, man.
Yeah.
Wolfie's a perfect dog. Like, Scout was amazing, and he helped me grow my channel and everything. But like, he could not go in a canoe. I could not fish with him. I couldn't shoot a gun. Nothing. Like, he would freak out about those noises and all that. Like, he hated guns from the get-go. Wolfie, Nothing phases him, man. The only thing that I can say bad about him is that he's a freaking husky and he likes to go. When he wants to go, he's going to go. But he always comes back. And like, man, I swear to God, I would rather be waiting at the end of a portage for 10 minutes each time for my dog to come back than not have my dog with me at all.
Right. So you know he's going to come back.
Oh, I know, no question.
So you're over that like little period of like anxiety. Is my dog like joined a pack of wolves and I'm never going to see it again?
Yeah. Or is he just doesn't care? Yeah. Whatever the case would be, he's always going to come back, and it's probably because of the food. But whatever, I'll take it.
Right. Oh yeah. He's on a bit of his own schedule.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah. What is it about? What is it about being out there with a dog? Like, it's hard to explain. But for you, what would you say is what does it make you feel like to be out there with your dog as opposed to just by yourself? Let's say.
It's I don't know, man. I don't have many men in my life, and I never have. So I think that's part of it, having a buddy.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then also like going back to the thing where I said before is like, I don't necessarily want to have people with me all the time. So still having that companionship, having a bud, having somebody who I know that I have to look out for, but who also has my back. You know what I mean? He's a warning system. Right, he caught a turkey the other day. Yeah. So if I need food, I can send him off. Like, it's I don't know, just a couple things, but it is a nostalgic thing to me too as well. It's like just in my head, like you need to have a dog if you're in the bush.
Well, you're known for it. Like you even did a show where you're in your bush, in the bush with your dog too.
Yeah, Nat Geo show. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you do for that show?
Man, we went. That was a tripper. That dog was an unfortunate thing with that dog.
Yeah.
But we went. They came up and they filmed for 10 days. We went on a canoe trip up in the Flack Lake area, the Blind River Matinenda Provincial Park.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we went in and set up for 10 days, and they had me go do a bunch of different stuff and shoot a bunch of different stuff. And it was pretty cool. It was a good bonding experience for me and Tripper, actually. It was the best time we ever had together. That said, like I still couldn't fish with him. He would freak out and shake in the canoe.
When you're just casting, he wanted to chase the lure or something like that, eh?
And like it got to the point where he would like violently shake in the canoe, and I just felt so bad. I couldn't bring him in the canoe anymore. Like it wasn't fun for either of us. You know what I mean?
Was it just that his anxiety of wanting to chase the rod or something?
It was everything. Yeah, he's just it probably started with the fishing, and then just he associated that with that. He's a working dog, man. You know what I mean? Like he needed a job, and it was my fault completely. Like I thought in my head, his job will be camping with me.
Right.
But that's not enough, and we're not camping 24/7 either.
Yeah, you think he needed to be like go. He needed like more purpose, like a police dog.
He was
a
cop dog. There's no question. Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. Some of those dogs make good pets, but you never know 100% with dogs, no matter what a good trainer you are. Even a guy like you who's known to be in the bush with dogs, you know, and over the years teach him to do all kinds of stuff. Like Wolfie looks amazing, man, at like getting in the canoe. That's awesome. You know, do you go down the rapid? Like you're not as much into the whitewater as I am per se, but you still run some stuff.
Yeah, I love whitewater now. I'm like just in the infant stages of it. You know what I mean? Like I took a couple courses and I've done a couple trips. Even did a trip by myself now, whitewater, but I'm not gonna run a class 3. I don't think. You know what I mean? Right. But yeah, no, he stays in the boat, and he tipped us on our first rapid in the Kopka, but it was partly my fault. I came to the rapid sideways a bit, but after that, he runs most of them now. Like he runs most of the rapids, but if I don't want him out, I'll just tell him to stay and we'll run the rapid or whatever. Like if it's too much of a pain to try and get him back in, or if it's a real long one, he loves to run along the river, which I absolutely love, man. Yeah. He just runs on the shore and I could see him. It's great. Yeah. It makes me feel really good.
He's getting just great exercise
and it's like, this is just like scenic, man. It's a white wolf running next to us like canoe and like, yeah, man. He's, so I will run some rapids with him. It all just depends. But he's fine doing it.
Do you get a lot of comments about him and just his appearance?
I haven't really looked at a YouTube comment, man, in years.
And what about just from like random people? Yeah,
people actually compared him to North a little bit early on, and then Karina's dog as well. Yeah. But I think Karina's dog and North might look a little bit more alike. Or
maybe. Yeah. It's part husky as well.
But no, well, yeah, I get people talking about Wolf and send me. I read Instagram messages and stuff like that. So I'm on the Joe Rogan method, the post and ghost. Yeah, I can't look at the comments on YouTube because it's a cesspool. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's like. But the thing with YouTube comments is that you can't click back and look at their profile. So they
Right.
can just get away with saying anything.
Any nonsense.
Where on like Instagram or Facebook, you can go check out what they are
Right,
up
there's some
to
kind
and
of
see their,
accountability.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Right, with YouTube, you just say whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Fake account, nobody can
That's
vet it.
right.
You're just faceless.
What isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that people make a fake account just to talk shit online. It blows my mind.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people got time on their hands, I guess.
True.
You know what I mean? Yeah. No, I'm not. I still try to read and engage with most of the comments, but yeah, sometimes I get one that's just like.
Well, that's the one. That's the problem, right? Like you'll see like 99 good comments, and you get one bad one. And in all honesty, me being totally transparent, the ones that bug me are the ones that bring home that are partly true. That I think about myself already.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something that's comment, oh, leaving your family again, Joe. It's like, fuck, man. Like,
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It does bug me. So it's like, but those 99 comments, the good ones, now get thrown away, and I focus on this nonsense that some douche is saying that he doesn't matter. That person doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So it's like, I would just rather not look at any of them anymore. And I learned that years ago.
Well, by the time you get to the, how much bandwidth do you have? Like by the time you get to the size that you have so many subscribers and so many comments, how long would it even take you to go read all of them?
There's
Just forever.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It would be impossible. Yeah. And I sometimes when I first post, I'll stay on in the comments for about an hour and reply to some, because those seem to be like the most loyal, real people.
That's a good way to go about it.
'Cause then the craziness comes in after.
Yeah.
But
I heard, everybody's like, oh, once you got haters, that means you've made it far and all this. And it's like, yeah, easy to say, right? I heard an analogy the other day was that, first of all, it doesn't matter what you're doing. As soon as you start to become successful, there's going to be jealousy. There's going to be, no matter what, you're not going to get along with everyone. But the one the guy said was, I forget who said this, but it was, let's say you're walking down the aisle in a grocery store, you had your hands full of stuff, right? And a guy just walks right into, puts his shoulder, you almost knocks you over, drops all your stuff, and you turn around because you're enraged with this person and you realize that they're blind. Wouldn't that just change your perspective immediately, right?
Like that.
So it's sort of like, that's kind of a good way to look at these people that are completely taking things out of context, making these insane comments that they're just completely blind to the context of what you're doing, or
that's true.
Disabled in their own way. You know what I mean?
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah. And then you just kind of like, it just helps not take it personally. You know what I mean? Like everyone says, don't take things personally, but it's like, but they did it to me personally. Like
saying things about me
right,
to me.
Right. It's like, yeah, right. Easier. I don't even know what that means.
Right. That is a good way to look at it. But also I think a lot of people are just young and dumb too, right? Like just saying, I would never think to say any of the things or half the things that in someone's face or behind a screen. It's just, it's crazy to me. But
I mean, trolling can be fun though sometimes, can it?
I don't know.
Like I remember my only trolling comment I've done in a long time. I saw one of those videos. It's like sped up, and this person's building like a fish bowl, and I like invested all my time to watch this. It was like the dumbest looking fish bowl, and then they fill it full of water and put a goldfish in there. It wasn't even clear. Like it was just like cement. And I was just like, I commented, I'm like, what a wonderful goldfish torture chamber you've built. And then I just laughed myself silly.
I do get enjoyment replying to some dumb comments sometimes I see.
Right.
I do get enjoyment from that. And sometimes I go too far, but I think it's okay. You know, I like it.
Yeah, once in a while, if I'm having a bad day, I'm just like, you know what? You're an idiot.
Yeah, I go off sometimes.
No, actually, Tori, my wife's has gotten a lot of, traction on her Instagram and stuff. What were you going to say?
Oh, I've seen some of the shit she has to actually make videos to reply. It's a smart way to do it, what she does, to reply to some of these dumb comments about Wesley or whatever it is.
Yeah, camping with your kids or being with a kid that's disabled.
Right,
He should be in a home and all this kind of stuff.
He's doing fine.
Right.
He's doing fine.
Yeah, but so she took the bad comment, made a little video showing her and the kids camping, having a lot of fun, showing the kids super engaged and happy, and then puts that negative comment on top of that.
Perfect.
Right. And then some of those videos have ended up doing like extreme, those little Instagram reels that end up doing like extremely well.
Yeah.
And everybody like is,
Engaged
comments and
yeah.
play. So in a way, it's sort of like making lemons out of lemonade, I guess.
That's very true. Or making lemonade out of lemons.
That's the one it is. That's the one. Yeah.
I'll be here all day, folks.
If you can make lemons out of lemonade, that'd be real impressive. Wow. Yeah. So we talked a bit about like, the expanse, and sure, it's great to have this ultralight gear, but I see you go out there with like Walmart gear.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you do there?
Yeah, that was like a few years ago now, but like I still like that style. I approached that whole idea with like, here's something that you can do on a budget, you know what I mean, and get everything that you need and show that you can actually use it. So it was fun. It was fun to go out with different gear that I'm used to.
Yeah,
that's always fun. But it was also fun because I like improvised some stuff, and I also did like a dollar store overnight thing one time.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like made a sheath for the knife out of cottonwood bark, and like and I'm using a little kitchen paring knife, right? And like it's just fun. It's fun to switch up. It's cool to test your skills, and it's also cool to show people. Like I do not want to be put in the position where people look at me and think like that guy's got everything handed to him. He only does things with expensive stuff. Like I wasn't that guy, and I'm not that guy. I work for everything. I was never.
You weren't a trust fund baby?
Certainly not.
No.
I was paycheck to paycheck baby. Nothing. No, nothing. But so I don't want to be put in that light, and I want to show people that you don't have to have money at all to go camping. Right, you shouldn't have to have money to camping.
That's a great message because a lot of people think that it can be super expensive.
It can be for sure, but again, if you like it, you're gonna stick with it. If you like golf, you're gonna go out with your buddy. You're not gonna own anything, and you're gonna go out and you're gonna shoot a few balls. You're gonna like it, and you may go buy yourself a putter or whatever the case is. These are bad analogies because I don't know golf.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Drivers, but you know what I mean. Like, so. It can be expensive. It can be cheap. And also another thing I've preached is like, you're not going to impress me or anyone by doing something that you don't want to do.
Right.
Like, so if you're out there and you're not having a good time, freaking bail. Like, especially if it's something that like it's your first time doing or one of your first times doing, it doesn't matter. If you're trying to get into it, see if you like it. If you're not having a good time, make sure that you're camping somewhere near your car or somewhere that you can get out and just leave. Like it's not an issue to me. Sometimes if you don't know, like if you're on the verge and you leave, that's probably not a good idea because then you're never going to get past that. Maybe it's a nighttime fear or whatever the case may be. But if you're genuinely not having a good time or if you're sick or not feeling good or something, you can just leave. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to think anything less of you. And there's always tomorrow. And there's always a different hobby, and it just doesn't matter.
No, that's a good message. So essentially, but speaking of the Walmart gear, how did it work out though?
Oh yeah,
were you dry? Did it keep the rain out of the tent?
Man, I was fine. It was. I don't even remember the weather. I think it was early spring, but I was with Scout. I know that, and we were fine. Everything was totally fine.
It was a while ago. Eh?
Yeah, comfortable and well fed, and I had fun.
So you're essentially saying that, somebody that might be on the fence about camping, somebody that maybe doesn't want to spend the money or might not have the money that thinks it's more expensive than it might be, could literally go into Walmart, doesn't have to go crazy, get some basic things, find a spot where they can essentially park their car, hike into the bush and camp there in a day or go to a provincial park or something like that. And if they don't like it, if everything's going wrong, they can have the option just leave. Don't go in so deep that they're like stuck at a lake with forest fires and stuff like that.
First time, probably.
Right. Yeah, and just kind of build up to it,
and use your cheap gear. And if you like it, then make plans for better trips and better gear.
Right.
And continue on. And it's a long process, dude. Like I started this stuff camping and getting out into the wilderness well before I was getting paid on YouTube, right? So I was buying all of my own camping gear.
Right.
You know what I got for Christmas and birthdays and anniversaries and everything for years and years and years was camping gear.
Right.
Honey, can I get a new sleeping bag? That's not a fun purchase.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's something that allows me to do more, go farther, longer because it's a lighter, warmer sleeping bag. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I was much the same way. All my Christmas present asks as when I was younger were all for this like camping gear, and some of it was getting like pretty technical too. Yeah. But it's a good way to kind of get stuff when you're younger. For 100%. Sure.
I remember going over to the States with my mom before a loan to try out for a loan because I needed a bivvy, and I never had a bivvy, and there was an REI over in Michigan, so I went over to REI and got it specifically for that. But yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey getting to where I am right now, gear wise, attitude wise, skill level, notoriety, everything. It's been a frickin' go.
Yeah. Well, you're not even 40 yet.
I
know. So but at the same time, you're not 20. So it's not something that you've just been able to just slap together in 2 minutes and do, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. Like, dude, I've been doing this for probably longer than I even mentioned earlier. If I'm thinking about it that way.
Yeah. Who's it made you become along the way? Like, I mean, I look at you and I'm just like the amount of different kinds of shelters that you build. The other day, for example, I saw you build just a shelter out of tarps, like not expensive tarps.
Oh, yeah.
So it was sort of like a super shelter. And by super shelter, explain what a super shelter is.
Super shelter is like, I think it was made popular by Morris Kahansky, but it's basically using the heat from a fire in front of your shelter through clear plastic to make like a greenhouse effect on the inside of your shelter. So if you don't have any gear, or if you get stranded or whatever the case may be, if you have nothing but like a thin piece of plastic, you could make this a crude, rudimentary, but you could stay warm that way. So basically I built a big tarp mansion, I called it, with a bunch of tarps and everything. The one time, and I put a wood stove in it, and I was out there camping, and you know how when we were saying earlier, like when you're out there thinking about things just come to you or whatever. I was like, I could do the same thing here with cheap, because I was all canvas tarps and stuff. I could do the same thing with cheap tarps, try to show people that you can do it on the cheap, and I can do it without a wood stove. I could make a super shelter out of it.
Right.
So I just angled it. I still made a big shelter. I think it was probably like 6 feet across or something like that, 7 feet across, big enough for me and Wolf to live in while it was raining and cook inside and sleep and everything. On the cheap, all just from hardware store stuff. I bought bungee cords. I bungeed it all to the tree. I didn't tie anything. And I used 2 garbage tarps and a piece of plastic.
Where did you get the clear piece of plastic?
It was like a painter's drop cloth.
Okay.
Yeah. Painter's like normal.
And then so you light the fire outside of the painter's drop cloth. So you're looking through the clear drop cloth at the fire.
Exactly.
And the heat from the fire gets through the drop cloth.
Without melting.
And then heats this sort of tarp shell that you built inside.
Yeah, because it's all enclosed mostly enclosed. It wasn't airtight by any means. And it was so warm in there, I just stripped down. You know what I mean? And so, so the fire is just radiant. You'd be able to build it about a big step away from the plastic, and the fire, and I put a big rock wall behind it so it would push all the heat towards me as well. And just toasty in there, man. And you could make it into a long fire and burn long logs the size of your body, and it's less cutting and it's way more warmth that way. You same stuff for like winter survival, that type of long fire thing where you just make a little lean-to and do that. Is
it hard to get in and out of it because you're kind of enclosed?
No. I'm a little squirrely little guy, man. I can get in and out of some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
No, it was fine.
Yeah, it's a journey, man. I hope, I haven't been doing YouTube for nearly as long. I've been doing, there's some similarities, but it's not the path that everybody takes, what you've been taking and you've stuck to. Has it made you a wiser man?
Man, I don't know. I think that just comes with time regardless, right?
Right.
I remember I make a lot of bad decisions. I still do. You know what I mean?
Bad ones.
Yeah, like just I could be making better decisions for my business. I could be making better decisions for my health, my life, and it's just I don't know. I think that I used to be real dumb. You know what I mean? Like just a shithead, right? And like I don't do half those dumb things anymore.
Yeah.
I treat people the way that I would like to be treated, which I've always done that. But I think, man, just growing up and having kids and like just understanding other people's perspectives in life is, I think it's just a natural thing for anybody who's a sane person, right? Like you grow and you see things in life, you see situations happen, and you just take lessons from that and grow. I don't know that being a YouTuber or being any kind of outdoors person or anything has anything to do with that for me personally. I think what I have learned from the outside though is like to slow down and to try to think when I can.
Try to think, try to block out all the static, like what we were talking about before.
Yeah, lots of static. Lots of static when I'm in life, or like when I'm driving around Sault Ste. Marie trying to get my done, and people are driving like people do in Sault Ste. Marie, and then I go out to the bush and I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm just out in the bush. I'm just with my dog. I'm just having fun. And what I'm thinking about is what I'm going to eat or how I'm going to cook that food. Honestly.
Right. And nothing else matters.
Nothing matters.
Yeah, it's just the simplicity of it, eh?
I partly don't like bringing my inReach for that reason. And for the longest time, I didn't ever bring my phone or my inReach or anything. But then after my brother, I found out that he passed when I was on a trip through Tosh and his inReach. And if we didn't have that, if I was out there having fun at that time, it would have been bad.
I mean, it is an awesome thing to have, unfortunately, for stuff like that. And also fortunately for in case you do get in trouble. Like when I had that problem with put the axe into my hand, I was able to inReach somebody to come pick me up. And me and my brother walked out of the bush 8K and then another 3K or so along a logging road and met a guy that was going to get us. Otherwise, I would have had to walk out and hopefully someone would have driven down this road that I could have flagged down and got hitchhiked to, like, who knows where it would have ended up. And that's the best case.
Yeah. And you're a dad and I'm a dad, and it's just irresponsible to not have the inReach when we're going out and doing this stuff. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's
yeah. So you're let's say you're north of Lake Nipigon somewhere, far northern Ontario, right? It's late in the season. You have, basic gear that you would keep in a survival kit, let's say on you. I keep one on me sometimes, especially with whitewater. You dump, you lose your canoe. It like pins around a boulder. It's gone. The majority of your gear is gone. What would be the steps? So worst case scenario, what would be the steps you would take to try to be okay?
First thing, depending on how cold I was, I would immediately strip down and set up camp right there. Like I guess I'd probably, unless it was in the middle of summer, I would want to get my clothes dry, period, no matter if it was cold or hot out. I would want to get my clothes dry for that night, knowing it would be a rough night. So I would get a fire going with my survival kit. I would set up a rudimentary camp. I would hopefully have like a Mylar blanket in my survival kit, which everybody should. You can put buttons with little pieces of duff or whatever on those and tie that off into a lean-to. Have your fire right in front of your lean-to there, and you'd have to spruce boughs like crazy and sleep on them with a big long fire in front of you. And you're not going to have a saw or an axe or anything like that. So you're probably picking up deadfall and burning that, which isn't always great either. And honestly, this is something that I don't do, but I should keep my inReach on my person at all times. It's stupid not to, because then you could just call it, you know what I mean? And come get me whenever you can type thing. Or come drop me off gear if you're that far up there.
Right. Bring me another canoe. I want to continue on the adventure.
Exactly. But having that inReach on you is probably... See, I got the bigger one when I got it because back in the day I didn't used to bring my phone, but now I bring my phone for GPS, like tracking and stuff. So I could have got the small inReach, and then I could have had it on me at all times.
Right.
But the big one's a brick.
Right.
But anyways, I don't know, man. Other than that, like I would survive the night like that. I would hopefully try to get a hold of somebody. That's the only way. Like, and
would you, let's see, I guess it's going to depend on where you are. Would you be a proponent? Let's say you didn't have your inReach. Would you try to walk out, or would you stay put?
I would move.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like, it's situational dependent. Again, like if you're supposed to check in with your outfitter every day, and you have been doing that, and then one day you don't, maybe they're going to come and look for you, right?
Right.
And it all depends on what you've laid out with them beforehand, what protocol to use as well. If that's the case, I'll stay where my last pin was, if possible. I would stay where I last emailed from or inReached from. But if not, I would be under and terrain would dictate as well.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to draw the same picture to every single situation.
No, you're not walking, you know what I mean, across water. You're not going to go swim, period. Right? It's just not going to happen across a big lake. And walking around, or maybe you're on an island when it happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All situational dependent, man. That's why it's like, I think, dude, the inReach is like the be all end all. Some kind of communication device has to be on you.
Yeah, and and also you don't want it to give a false sense of security too, because no matter how much we can communicate with the satellites, what you just explained, which is, the core of survival, really fire, shelter, you're freezing cold, you have hypothermia, probably makes sense to get a fire going first so you don't become hypothermic. Then you have your shelter. But if you were just going to inReach right away and call for a pickup and then sit there, you'd probably be frozen by the time they got there.
Yeah, that'd be real dumb.
Yeah.
But then also too, we didn't even say anything about water. And then if you don't have, like, depending on how long you're out there for, you're starting to drink lake water, and then maybe you're getting giardia, and then you're going to get dehydrated like crazy.
Yeah.
So that's like a vicious cycle there too. Depending on how far up north you are too, you might be fine drinking the water.
Yeah. Have you ever had giardia before?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, eh?
Sucks.
Yeah, they call it beaver fever. It sounds all cute, and then you're just like, this isn't good.
No, like both ends for sure.
Yeah,
I've had it 3 times.
Oh, brutal. I've had it twice.
Yeah.
Rendered me lactose intolerant permanently. Which I didn't know. I just thought I never got rid of giardia. And I'm like, why am I, still going to the bathroom all the time? And finally I figured out it was a lactose issue. So I cut that out. It went away. And then it wasn't till like 2 years ago where I was reading about giardia, and I read the long-term effects are permanent lactose intolerance.
Maybe I should stop drinking milk.
Well, I don't know. I had the first time I had it, I didn't have any lactose issues.
Okay.
And most people never get it. But maybe I just got it so bad. And I remember my aunt being like, well, I knew it. You just drank way too much milk as a kid. You thought you should just drink all this milk, and there you go.
Overdid it on the milk.
Yeah, exactly. She's probably going to listen to this and be like, I don't talk like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, man.
That's funny, man.
Yeah, but it's no joke.
No,
man.
giardia sucks. I actually got it one time when me and buddy Mike were in Algonquin, and we were using the same filter, and he didn't get it. I must have like self-contaminated somehow. I don't know. But yeah, I've had that. What else have I had? I've had E. coli.
Ooh, from being in the bush?
I was in the bush when it happened. Yep.
Tularemia is the other one people can get. Apparently you get it from like skinning rabbits. I'm not really familiar with exactly what it is, but apparently it's bad too. Like rare though.
A bug, or?
I think it might be a parasite, but don't quote me on that. Yeah.
I think there's something in bear too, isn't there? Bear can be
trichinosis.
Oh yeah,
Some carnivores or meat-eating animals can carry trichinosis, and it's like a parasite where like worms get in your body. Apparently, you can almost like see it in your eyeball and all this kind of stuff.
That's the one that pork was supposed to have forever, wasn't it? Now it's not.
I mean, maybe potentially like you'd be more likely because pigs can eat meat as well.
Right.
So, you're more likely to probably get sick from eating pork than you are from beef. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful. Do you carry any of this kind of stuff in your first aid kit to deal with it? No.
No, I carry like anti-diarrhea pills for if I get giardia or whatever, but like I don't even know what I would treat giardia with. Yeah. Because that's the only really, like, other than shingles, that's the only really concern I have when I'm out there is. But I filter all the time. I don't risk it.
You don't mess around?
I've heard there's 2 types of people. People who filter their water and people who haven't had giardia yet.
I honestly, when I was in the Yukon, I pull off at some mountain runoff streams and do it. Never had an issue, but I probably did get it the one time from like what I thought was a mountain runoff stream in BC. Afterwards, when I looked at the map, I realized there's like probably a bunch of beaver dams back there and some stagnant water. But like I remember, I'm in the Yukon, I'm paddling down this river, and I see like a patch of snow up in the mountains, and I see this rushing stream pouring down. and it does go through kind of the woods, and I come up to the base of the stream. It tastes like distilled water.
Nice.
And I'm drinking this and I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like even if the chances on something pooing in that also had Giardia,
Right.
like, and me ingesting it, I don't know. I've never had an issue from it, but some people would recommend not doing it.
Well, it's probably filtered from the forest floor, so you're all right.
Yeah, you have to be questionable, but that would have been nice. Apparently, Giardia wasn't always here. It was maybe more something that was in South America, and I don't know whether it's for pollution through bird crap or something that it traveled here. But yeah, like 300 years ago or whatever,
nice.
hundreds of years ago, or maybe less. I'm not sure on the number. It wasn't an issue.
Yeah, guys, would just dip and
right, and you can also build an immunity to it.
I've heard that. I didn't know if it was bullshit or not, though.
Apparently it is. That would be an interesting YouTube video. You can just like eat little bits of beaver shit at a time.
You see me
Just
slowly
measure it
dying,
out.
just withering away.
We should do that. Be like, I eat too much. Ah.
I got the beaver mind.
Yeah. But you could technically look at some people in developing countries that don't have access to clean water. Like
That's true.
they drink all kinds of horrible stuff.
true.
And if they don't die from it by the age of 5, they're just like immune to it sort of thing.
True. Yeah.
I've had, I know one guy that lives in the bush. Well, 2 guys, but one guy specifically lives in the bush, always drinks the lake water. Then he went to another lake, his friend's lake, which is equally as remote and no boat motors and no people's septic spilling to whatever, and got Giardia from that lake. And in the end, he realized it's because he wasn't used to. So the Giardia parasites in that other lake were like just a little different.
Right.
Apparently.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a big proponent of like those bee free, the Katahdin bee frees. They're great, man. And people don't like them because like they'll poke a hole in the side of where I go through like 3 a season, man. Like it doesn't matter.
Squeeze.
Yeah,
they're wicked.
they're great.
Yeah, and you can also get like a hydro flask.
Yes,
so another
thicker.
company that's more durable. I find they do get kind of plugged up the filter part, so after you use it for a bit, the water doesn't come out.
Are you talking the
freely.
Sawyer squeeze or the bee free?
The bee free.
Yeah, it does slow down, but when it starts, it's like a faucet. So you when you first use it, it's like a faucet. So I think by the time it's slowed down a lot, it's still better than the Sawyer.
Okay.
Because I have sucked on a Sawyer and just like craving water. With the bee freeze, like it does get plugged up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, but I think it's still better than a Sawyer.
You can kind of shake it a bit.
shake it.
That helps. Or bring an extra one.
Yeah, and then also now they have gravity filters of that same style, the bee free.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I gotta try one out. Do you use gravity filters for your water? I like the idea, but when you're traveling solo, it's kind of unnecessary.
It doesn't make sense unless you're with a few people and you're like you're going to use it at camp type thing. Like I would still have a solo one with me.
Right. Yeah. It's not something you're breaking out in the middle of the day.
You're not paddling and scooping it and hanging it in the canoe. No.
Right. Because you got to hang it from a tree. But it is nice to have when you have maybe 3-4 people,
like
whatever.
It's like a sink. Yeah.
Yeah. It's exactly. Yeah.
I brought one with Wolfie on the super shelter trip, and it worked out. I stayed a few days. It worked out pretty good there. Nice. It's a nice spot back in there, man. I'm going to go back in an ice fish, I think.
Cool. Yeah. Is that in Algoma?
Yeah, that's up 546. Up, you turn north at Iron Bridge.
Yeah. So would you get in there? Because I'm noticing some of your trips, you start with like a truck, then you're finding like a remote trail, like an ATV trail, bombing in there by ATV, then getting your canoe in, and then finding a cool place. And even some of those lakes, nobody's on. In the last video of yours I watched, you're getting in there by ATV, not a soul there, maybe more of an ice fishing thing.
Certainly.
Yeah. And then from there, you're kind of getting deeper in the backcountry too.
Yeah. I'll take I created that, or I treat that spot. I'm using that spot like a base camp and going and exploring from there, and I really like it because you can do everything. You can have your comfort there, and then you can go on like small little trips from there and do your minimalist thing or whatever. I'm shooting birds, I'm fishing, and the dog is free range, man. Free range Wolfie, and he just goes. And
Nobody's around.
Nobody's around, and it doesn't matter. And if I need him back, I'll pop a fire shotgun shell in the air. You know what I mean? And he'll come because he associates that with grouse or whatever. But like other than that, like I'm past the point with Wolf, like we're saying, like where I'm worried about him taking off. He's gonna come back.
Yeah. So how do you find these places?
Oh man, a lot of them I have local maps, like it's like a recreation fishing type map that I'll get at like corner stores, and I'll just study the areas. And on top of that, I've started to make quite a good group of people that I know around. So like I'll talk to some old timers and like they're like, oh, my dad used to go in over here and it's got this, and this. And I'll be like, oh yeah? And I'll go.
Right.
Yeah, and like 9 times out of 10, they're right. Like it's like it's there, it's accessible, there's tons of fish. And like I don't ever see anybody. Yeah, I don't ever see anybody in these places. That's kind of too where I'm starting to. Well, Wolfie is a big use for that. Is like I don't want to go into Algonquin Park and bother people with my dog.
Right.
I'm not going to tie him up.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Sorry. You know, I'm not going to have him on a leash. But I also won't bring him to a populated spot and be the jerk who's got their dog running all around. He's a great dog. He doesn't bark. He won't jump on you or nothing. But some people don't like dogs coming up to them. And I respect that. I get that.
Yeah.
So I'll start to go to these places. Like I was starting to say, like, just a lake I'll find. You know what I mean? Go to that. It's different. Like if I want to go do a canoe trip with them, that's fine too. I'll go to Lake Superior Park. You know what I mean? There's not many people there.
Right.
And the people up there are usually pretty cool with dogs. Most outdoor people are pretty cool with dogs.
Right, in general. Yeah. So that's kind of one of the things, though. I mean, where you live, that's probably the beauty of where you live, too, because, you know, you have access to more of these sort of hidden gems that, and one of the beauty parts about exploring public land too is that it's not all laid out for you, right? Like it's not like Jellystone Park kind of thing where, or just Algonquin Park map. Here's where the old growth forests are. Here's how you access. Here's this. When you're exploring like, you know, crown land, public land areas, you got to figure all that out yourself.
Yeah, and you're finding gems,
right
here and there, or some bullshit too. You know what I mean? Which is all part of the fun, right? That's actually very fun. Is like. The planning of it, like you with your expeditions, like not the same thing on a smaller scale for me, but planning it at home, understanding what kind of gear I want to bring, and then going out and trying to find it, and then not only find it, but like I've already made the trip there. I'm going to sleep there. You know what I mean? So it's like if that's not the spot, I will find another cool spot somewhere else. There's lakes everywhere, dude. There's freaking lakes everywhere.
Yeah, that's the beauty about where we live, and you know the Canadian Shield in general, right? Yeah. Just tons of lakes, man.
I'd never. Man, like there's some nice spots out in Alberta, and like I like their mentality a little bit better out there and stuff. But I would never move there.
The Rocky Mountains are epic.
It's great.
Yeah,
but I would never move there.
Yeah,
because Ontario lake systems.
Yeah,
I personally, that's my thing. Yeah. Like I'm sure a mountain climber wouldn't move to Ontario either.
Right.
You know
yeah. I mean? Downhill skier.
Right. Exact same thing.
Yeah.
But we live in a really, 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 really cool spot.
And the fishing here.
Yeah.
Is like off the chart. There's so many places to go. Also, the other thing I like is the fact that the lakes aren't freezing cold. Like, you know, when you go to the mountains, you want to go for a dip in one of these lakes, you know, you're going to freeze off. Yeah. Right. Around here, the lakes actually get reasonably warm in the summer, sometimes nice and warm. You know, and it's just such a great place to take a dip. And, you know, that's one of the fun things too, is when you're on these trips, you hard bushwhack, you find a nice camp, man, just cool off the bug bites. Yeah. And I love that too. I love the challenge of as much as it's nice to have sort of everything laid out for you, like in some of the operating provincial parks, to actually have to go in there. I'm going to jump on this quad trail. I don't really know exactly where it's going to go. I think it's going to get me, you know. Oh, I saw in your video. Oh, here's the end of the trail. You know, it's still a bit of a walk to the lake. Oh, here's a stash boat. You know what I mean? Mental note. You know what I mean? Where's the Portage Trail into the next lake? You have to find it.
And there always is one, eh?
Yes.
There always is one. Yeah.
Always. And oftentimes that trail is hundreds, if not even more years old. That was part of a bigger system too, which is so cool.
You know what's crazy too? It's always in the exact same spot it's always in the spot you think it would be. Like for those old portage trails, like in the most convenient spot, right? Like where you look at the topography and you see where the trees go like this, or the lake ends over here, and you know the next lake is like on this side of the lake, and your lake kind of takes a little horseshoe. It's certainly going to be in this horseshoe spot, right? It's not going to be somewhere where it's more walking or more difficult to go. So and they're overgrown, you know what I mean? But you can always tell that they were there.
You know, one of the things that's so cool about that to me, like there's one here. that connects the big bay over here that bypasses everything upriver for me, everything, all the rapids downriver, and the big freaking waterfall down there, and just bypasses all of it through this big bay. And it's like, how did people, before any aerial drones,
I know.
before any maps, how did they even know there was a lake there?
Exactly.
How did they even know? How did they know what the best route is to it? Right.
I thought of this many times.
You know, like, holy shit. Like there's one, I remember this big portage in the East Natashquan was this never ending portage, and it ended at a beaver swamp that was spring fed by a stream that had enough water that was rushing back into the main river, right? And literally shaved off like a solid 2 kilometers of portaging, right? But I just remember, like, how did they know this?
Yeah, it's either lots and lots and lots and lots of trial and error, exploration, you know what I mean? Or like some divine intervention, because like, how do you know there's a lake over there?
Right. Maybe they sense it, or maybe they're just more in tune with nature. They could see those natural things, just like you explaining how you've learned to see it. You know, things like that too. Guys like us that get enough time in the outdoors, we take for granted how much stuff do know sometimes, where some people would be like, what are you talking about? The natural contours, like, what does that mean? And they wouldn't know what you're related to.
Over something, trying to make a point. They're like, no, wait, what? Yeah. I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Right. They're still like at point A, and you think you're already on point D, and they have no idea what happened in between. Right?
I noticed that when I was explaining the super shelter, I was just like, and you're like, wait, so you light the fire in front, trying to get people to understand what I'm talking about.
Right.
And in my head, I'm like, super shelter, whatever.
Yeah. It's such a well, that's a pretty known thing, particularly in the survival kind of bushcraft. More Skahansky. I have a couple of his books around here too, passed away recently. Do you ever get the chance to meet him, or? No, a few people. I never did. No, but he was a pretty impressive dude, man.
Yeah, the guy I learned from went and learned from him and stuff.
Yeah, cool. Have you taken any courses on this kind of stuff over the years?
Yeah, my first ever course was with this guy Caleb Musgrave. You know him?
I do. Yeah.
And he started his Canadian bushcraft, or whatever it was called back in there. I was his first student.
No
ever.
Kidding.
Yeah, I was his first student in the Hiawatha Native Reserve over by Peterborough, kind of. And we stayed out for a couple nights in like 0-degree weather and built big lean-tos and had a good time. I didn't really learn much, which is fine, but we had a good time and we stayed in contact for a while. But what was really funny is I left that. I was living in Huntsville at the time. I left that day to go home, and me and the wife went to Blockbuster. I met Les Stroud that day.
No kidding.
I left the bushcraft course.
Cool.
Yeah, for the first time. Yeah,
just like a survival round trip.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I think they're still doing that, Canadian bushcraft or something like that. I think he's been doing it for a while.
Yeah, and actually, I watched a show the other day called Merchants of the Wild. Have you seen it?
No, I'm following it. Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah.
So I watched season
on APTN.
Yeah,
right?
I watched season 1. It follows a bunch of Ontario natives, kids, trying to get some of their ways back or whatever. And freaking Caleb pops up in the show.
Oh, cool.
And he's like a mentored guy and like running half the thing. I'm like, no way.
No, he's like a consultant on the show, and he's on, I think they're in like their 3rd season.
I think it's like 6 or something.
Is it now?
Yeah.
So I just follow them on their social media channels, loving everything I see. But I got to get in and watch it in more depth.
I watched season 1 and I loved it, and it was really cool because I knew some of the areas and stuff. But they go all around different provinces. Every season is a different province.
Is it like are they building some of these things themselves? Are they in the bush for a very long periods of time?
2 weeks or 20 days or something like that, and they're building birch bark canoes and paddling them and like doing everything, dude. They're doing everything.
Yeah,
they have teachers. Like elders who are teaching them stuff, and then they're doing it. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
it's well worth a watch.
Yeah. So can you learn tips and stuff from it?
Certainly.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's one of the things that it's hard to, when watching alone, it's hard to, because the show is condensing so much time into such a short period of time.
So many people
to show somebody actually from beginning to end create, whatever it might be. is very, you don't really kind of get them to see that, right? So, you know, one of the things I did when I was on alone is I whittled these paddles, and like they didn't show up, and everyone's like, "Oh, he brought those paddles. Like one of his items must have been paddles," which was actually really flattering because I'm like, that's how good they look to you. You're obviously not looking too close, but I wouldn't call them crude, really.
Did you keep them?
You know, I kept one. I think my brother kept the other one. The one I kept is almost more like an oar.
Nice.
It wasn't real, like the blade was like too long and too big, but yeah, it was sick. It was cedar. Oh man, Joe, we could just blab on and on about this stuff, eh?
Don't need to camp anymore. We'll just sit here and talk about it.
That's honestly half the fun, eh? When it comes to like fishing. I know my cousin, he's got his whole tackle box. He's open. We just literally sit there, blab about fishing. The boat's there, the lake's there. We're just like, his wife's like, "Why don't you guys just go?" You know, like, God, you know, like, so true, man. But anyways, man, yeah, like, is there anything to, you know, we've touched on it a bit, but is there anything that you could say to sort of summarize things for people that are into that, or that want to get into camping, bushcraft style camping, and maybe anybody that looks up to you as somebody that's managed to capture and film these, who might want to try starting to film some of their adventures?
Yeah, that's a good question. For like you said, we touched a little bit on that, like staying close to a car at the beginning and stuff. But aside from that, like bushcraft style camping is actually a good one to get into, because the whole concept of bushcraft is not to spend money. Right. It's more do more with less, right? The more you know, the less you carry. All the quintessential sayings. Maybe I said that right. But you could buy a tarp from the hardware store. You know what I mean? You could, honestly, I think Dollarama sells tarps now, like a little 4x6 or a 5x7 type thing. And you just go out and learn your skills. Watch other people who used to do bushcraft skill type videos. Go back far in my content. You'll find specific videos on specific things, right? So you don't have to. But anyways, lots and lots and lots and lots of resources out there. Any
books that you recommend?
Man, the Bible, freaking Bushcraft by Morris Kahansky. Like it's the one for sure. I really like a book called Shelters, Shacks, and Shanties by Dan Beard.
I've heard of that one.
Shack, Shelter, Shanties by Dan Beard. Great book. Gives you tons and tons and tons of ideas for anything from kids' forts up to a freaking like outpost, like a Hudson's Bay style.
Cool.
Old, like, yeah, it's wild. And doing it with like hand tools, basically. But yeah, the book, Morris Kahansky, the book used to be called Northern Bushcraft. I believe it's just called Bushcraft now. That other one, Shack, Shelter, Shanties. Nothing else that comes to my mind right away. Any of the Ray Mears books are pretty good. Les Stroud's got a good one on survival. And then on the other hand, Kevin Callan's books for camping are great. You know, for tips for winter camping, for tips for ideas for places to go that are reasonably accessible.
Yeah, we talked about how to find a place. That if you're from Ontario, Kevin Callan's guidebooks are probably among some of the best resources to tell you where to start the trip from,
what kind of trip it's going to be.
Yeah,
what you need, who to talk to about, what kind of outfitters, or what specific outfitters suit. You're right. Yeah, Kevin's a great guy. Wealth of knowledge.
Yeah,
for sure. As far as the bushcraft camping stuff, go out, like learn some skills, download some stuff onto your phone if you want to, and watch it out there and practice that while you're out there. That's how I learn best, is by watching and then doing. I'm not good at being talked to. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, that'd be a great start, and then see if you like it, get into it more, and then there's the endless possibilities with forums and meeting up with people, like-minded people. Like that's probably one of the best things you could actually do is get a little community going. Make yourself. This ties in with content creating too. If people want to film their stuff, make yourself a little Instagram account. The amount of Ontario creators that we have, you know what I mean, outdoor people in our Instagram group there is crazy, right?
It really is.
It's nuts. And we're all relatively close in proximity. So that could help big time in learning and meeting people, doing things like that, and getting out with someone one time usually creates a good bond, and then you usually end up camping with that person if you get along.
Absolutely, and it's easy to get along with like-minded people too,
Especially when you're out in the bush, man.
Yeah,
Like, what are you doing? You having a couple pops and you're cutting some wood and maybe catching a fish. There's not much to complain about.
Not too many stressful situations going on for the most part, right?
Yeah.
And what about for somebody that wants to maybe take the leap and to film some of their trips?
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't go right into the deep end with expensive gear by any means. I started, dude, with, and it didn't matter at the time, like whatever, but I started with one of those little flip cameras. Like, it was like, I couldn't edit. I couldn't do nothing. I didn't have a tripod. I would set this thing up. You would see me like a monkey looking at the thing, put it up, record, put it up on a tree, run away, and do whatever I was doing, firewires or whatever, run up and do it all in one take, right? Because I can't edit. And if I messed up, I'd restart. But anyways, like, that's what I mean. I just start with your phone. Start with if you're into cameras already, then you're good. But don't go into it thinking that you're going to be a millionaire. Don't go into it thinking that you're going to get 1 million views right off the hop, because that's not going to happen unless you hit the YouTube jackpot, which is possible. Some people do that, right? You can see that.
Usually they're like better looking than us, though.
Better looking than us, and have a category that probably people talk about in real life, right? If you were not here sitting with me, if we were not the people that we are, we wouldn't be talking about camping.
Right.
Not like, if you drive down the street and there's 10 cars, I'm guaranteeing you 10 of those cars inside the people aren't talking about camping.
Very likely.
Then, or in their whole life, right?
Right.
So it's like, if we were into golf again, or cars, or whatever the case may be, it'd be such an easier get. It'd be such an easier in. That said, there'd be more competition, right? But nowadays, there's a lot of outdoor bushcraft YouTubers as well. So that's good too. But I would just say, start slow, emulate the people that you like. That's what I used to do too. I didn't know anything, dude. I didn't know anything about editing or filming or nothing. I never took a course. I never cared about it. And I would just emulate the people that I thought were doing what I wanted to do. So I styled my videos that way. I wasn't doing what they were doing.
Right.
But I was editing that way, or getting ideas about editing from them.
Getting inspired.
Big time. Like, well, I used to liken it to watching skate videos when I used to skateboard. We get all hyped up.
Right.
We'd sit around, watch an hour of freaking an old VHS, skate tape, and then go out and just try the stuff. So, and then that's the same with bushcraft. I get all hyped up, inspired from people, from watching YouTube videos. Then I would go out and do it myself. And it felt so good, man. It felt so good getting like attaboys from grown men, like that were like, "You're doing a good job, man. Like look at you." And like, that is what really inspired me to keep doing it from the YouTube's perspective and the forum perspective, which was, the YouTube was just a catalyst for that, was like, what's your motivation for things? Like, it wasn't money at that time at all. It was being recognized as someone who was doing a skill well, something that I wanted to do. And I thought that was like the bee's knees, dude. Like, I thought that was the be all end all. And it was great. It felt so good. And that's what propelled me even more just to continue, you know what I mean? And then like, Alone kind of screwed me, because I had to stop doing YouTube videos way before Alone. Right. And then
because you're going to go on the show.
Yeah. And then after that, for however long, I had to take a hiatus because when we were all back, they couldn't let the world know that we were back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you were on the very first season. You didn't even know if the show was going to be anything or not.
We were guinea pigs, dude. They messed up so bad with us. They paid people, because you get a stipend, right? They started paying us like 2 months before. They had to, because everybody quit their job, because they were like, "Oh, you're going out in August. We're going to do this in August." We didn't get out there till like October or November.
Oh no.
Everybody quit their jobs.
Yeah, I'm sure they learned a lot from that kind of thing.
So they were paying from then on. Anyways, they had to make it look like we were still out there. Right. So I had to not make videos for like 3 months or whatever.
Right.
So by the time I got back, and I had always been going pretty regularly on YouTube, I had seen people that were way under me in subscribers and numbers and stuff surpass me.
Yeah.
So then that lit a fire under.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. Like, I need to be where I need to be, typing this like hierarchy type thing. And I just went off, and that's when I blew up.
Yeah.
People think I blew up because of Alone, and that's exactly opposite of what I got hurt.
You kind of blew up in spite of it, and then
Alone.
you had like a tiger kind of chasing you, because as much as you love to look at other YouTubers, other content creators in your niche, you look at them almost like we're in this together. You still have that fire in you to get out there and put out videos and be the best, which for many, many years you were like the top guy and still you're way up there, in the niche, right?
Yeah, I was the top guy. I gladly say that, and I'll hold that.
Yeah.
But everything comes and goes too. You know what I mean? There's peaks and valleys and stuff, and but no, I really got lucky. Like I really got blessed, and I feel very fortunate to have had the run I've had, and to be able to do the things I've done and meet the people I've met. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't be here right now physically with you if for not YouTube.
Right. Absolutely. And can you explain a little bit about is there anything you told yourself? Like you just said, hey, I got back off of doing this. Everyone thought it was the show, but no, it's your own hard work. Nothing's going to do it for you. Was it like, Joe, I got to get out there and crush it again? Or was there any sort of little piece of your mindset that you could share at that time that really shot you into the next caliber?
Motivation like crazy, because like I knew I was one of the front runners on YouTube, and I didn't want to be forgotten, you know what I mean, at all. I wanted to, and I was only at like 30,000 subs when I went onto Alone. It wasn't anything.
Crazy difference. Yeah.
It wasn't anything. It wasn't like it took me 7 years to get 100,000 subscribers.
Right.
And the year after that, I was at 500,000.
Wow.
Right? So it exponential growth. Yeah. But it was just motivation, dude. Like I just didn't want to be left behind. I didn't want to be left behind in the dust. And like I knew what I was capable of. I had a fire lit under my ass. I still had tons and tons and tons of gumption to get out all the time and film it all. I was getting better at filming at that point. Like I was coming off Alone, like they taught us things about filming as well.
Totally. Yeah.
And I wanted to utilize that. I wanted to make the best content that I possibly could. And those were some of my best years. And I grew like crazy. Yeah, man. I don't know. It was just, I just knew that I didn't want to be left behind. I wasn't over with it yet. And I knew that if I didn't get out and bust my ass and try my hardest, that I wouldn't recover from the Alone thing. The Alone thing was really, really, really devastating, dude. Really freaking devastating in many ways. One of the hardest things was dealing with the hate after. It was crazy, which I didn't think that I even take that into consideration.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was like hate. Like people were upset with me. It's like I smacked their baby. I don't understand. But like that really hardened me quite a bit after that to that type of thing. But I had to come back mentally from Alone, and that was one of the ways of doing it was just
absolutely crushing it, dude. Yeah. Joe, I gotta say, man, like I think that's going to be inspiring to a lot of people.
I hope so.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out today, man. It's been awesome talking to you.
Thanks for having me, man.
No problem, buddy.
Reach over that.
Good seeing you. Yeah.
Goodbye.